What is up, Buffalo Fanatics? Z-Bot Rico and Bot live on a Wednesday evening as one of the weirder and sadder and just perplexing last few weeks of Buffalo Bills history continues to unfold. We are less than 3 days now, 4 days removed from the Buffalo Bills 2025 season ending at the hands of the Denver Broncos in overtime in a divisional round. A heartbreak that we are used to. As I've said before, every year ends in heartbreak. It's just a matter of what variation of heartbreak are you going to suffer? How many pieces is your heart going to shatter into? Is it going to be a gazillion or is it going to be a handful? More often than not, it's more than you can count, more than you can pick up. Removed from that, and I'll add this into what has been a terrible week here, Rico, because the New England Patriots moving on to the AFC Championship, likely moving on to the Super Bowl, is something you have to add into this because it just makes it 10 times worse. Where you look at the Chiefs dynasty at least be put on pause for now. And as soon as that's put on pause, the worst show on television for 20 years in upstate New York is immediately put back on play. And the New England Patriots are off to the AFC Championship. They're a Jared Stidham victory or defeat over Jared Stidham away from moving on to the Super Bowl. You then enter into Black Tuesday or Black Monday in Buffalo. Sean McDermott of 9 years fired as the head coach of the Buffalo Bills. Brandon Beane retained and promoted. And then today, Wednesday, January 21st, Buffalo Bills owner Terry Pegula, general manager and president of football operations, Brandon Beane, addressed the media. And it was one of the more chaotic, what did I just watch type media addressments we've seen. I'll leave it at this before I toss to you, Rico. What has felt like a Buffalo Bills culture that has been the standard in sports for a very long time has gone quite far out of its way over the last handful of days here to try and unravel what took years to build. And I'm not saying it's completely unraveled. I'm not saying it's not savable. And for all I know, it can only get better. But for what these Buffalo Bills have been over the last near decade to what they have been over the last couple of days, it's a far cry from one another, and it's rough to watch. How are you feeling about how this whole process has gone down here, Rico?
Well, I mean, listen, like anybody, after something major happens, after a major win or a major loss, we have a couple days of euphoria, and you have a couple days of depression, right? And we were just in the middle of moving on. I'm not gonna say getting over it, but moving on to okay, what's next? What are we gonna do? And then the news of McDermott being, I guess, released, fired, however you want to call it. Then you're like it raises back up again. You're back to hype and saying, what the heck is happening? You have more questions than answers, and you have some folks that are jubilated about this thing, and you have some folks that are head scratching. So at this point, there will come a moment where we let the dust will settle. And the dust, I think, will settle quite quickly because now we're on to the next topic. And the next topic is who's going to be the Bills' next coach. But before we even get to next coach, we got to give I hate to even say it, a proper send-off. Or I feel like the Bills and Pegula did not give a proper send-off to a guy that pretty much grew up with this new era Bills. And the way I can explain it is this: like, yes, we were in that 17 drought, but we were all in it together, and then we came out of it together with the one coach. So, like, we have a bit of a tie to that coach. So that's why some people are tied to McDermott. And I'll call it for myself. I'm tied to McDermott because of that reason.
Yep.
But I also understand the business. It's a results-driven business. You've heard that saying everywhere. You don't get the results, there's consequences with that. And the consequences for Mr. McDermott was his walking papers. And some folks feel like it was justified. Some folks feel like maybe we could push it a little longer, but you got to ask yourself, if you push it a little longer, how much more you're going to push it. So this was time for it to happen. And then how it happened, why it happened, there's still some things up for debate. And that's why you and I are going to discuss it today, because there was a big old presser today where owner of the Bills, Terry Pegula, and GM / president of operations, Mr. Brandon Beane, had a moment to answer some questions. And I'll say this, though. I think there should be another press conference with just Brandon Beane. I didn't like that there was both owner and GM there, because there was the interjecting.
I got a feeling Brandon Beane feels the same way as you do, Rico.
Because I think we need a do-over. Do-over. Y'all can ask me anything you want. I'll be as transparent. One thing that Brandon Beane is known to be is transparent. He didn't give me any impression that he wasn't transparent today, but I'm sure there's more behind the scenes than they're allowing us to know. But it'll come out. It always does come out. There's always a small little leak, and then we chase the crumbs until we find out what's going on. But as for how I'm feeling about this, I'm neutral. I'm neutral in this. I'm optimistic that, okay, we get to kind of like find out who this new coach is going to be. But I'll tell you this, I'm really, really big on this. Whoever you bring in does have big shoes to fill. And those shoes, I'm not talking about the X and O's. I'm talking about what the culture that was built. I'm talking about what was brick by brick. You have a respectable franchise. At one point, we were goofballs. Nobody was trying to mess with the Bills. Oh, I feel sorry for you. You're the Bills. Now, respectable franchise. So whoever comes in has to take on that respect and hold that respect. So Brandon Beane's got a big job to do. So these next few weeks, maybe days, I don't know, will be telling. And we'll see how Mr. President, Mr. Brandon Beane President does in this coaching search.
That we will. We are going to go over the entirety of the press conference held this morning between Terry Pegula and Brandon Beane, breaking it down piece by piece, giving you our thoughts as it comes, as it goes, trying to dissect what we think each and every part of it means. You got the echo thing on there?
Am I echoing right now? I don't hear you echoing.
I think I am.
Yeah, you're not echoing on my end.
Am I not echoing on
Chat, talk to me. Is my man echoing? Let me know if you hear an echo from my man Z-Bot.
Any echo? Okay, no echo. Never mind. Maybe it's just me and my own thoughts once again. Anyhow, we're going to go through the press conference bit by bit. Rico alluded to it a little bit earlier, but, the beginning here, we'll talk a little bit about Sean McDermott, and we'll go on from there. The initial gut reaction to the firing was not necessarily one of shock, where you were stunned that change was made. I think where the shock came from was how the change was made, where Sean McDermott was fired, and not only fired, but let's be blunt here. Sean McDermott was essentially kicked out the door. I don't think Sean McDermott was held the door open and shown out to. It wasn't like they helped McDermott gather his things and walked him to the door, opened his car door and said, "Hey, coach, we appreciate you." In my opinion, it felt like the door was flung open. "Hey, thanks for your time," and get out. That's kind of how I saw it. And when you then parlay that with the man who's been in charge of this organization alongside of him for nearly a decade, then getting a promotion and being put in charge of finding the successor to Sean McDermott, I had a real problem with that. Now, people, I think, with me are confusing it with me having a problem with Beane. Is this Beane's fault? I don't necessarily know. I mean, I don't think there's any evidence to be given to me thus far to say that it is. I keep seeing people say, "Oh, Beane's a snake, this and that." I have no evidence to that. I don't. I'm not going to speculate on what I don't know. I don't know what Beane's doing and what he isn't doing. And I think that this press conference we're about to watch helps shine light on that. What I find to believe, look at if you and your best buddy were working a job and your best buddy was gotten rid of and you weren't, and they were both really high paying, really successful jobs, are you supposed to just quit because your buddy got fired? No, I understand all that. What I'm trying to say is I'm awfully confused on how one of those guys seemed to be given the entirety of the blame while the other was given none and promoted. We'll get a little bit of insight from this here press conference as to why that is, but we'll break it down piece by piece.
I like that. I like how bothered you are by this. I love it, and we're gonna get into it because maybe you might, if by breaking certain things that were said down.
Well, hold on, before we start, I want to ask you, because I know you and I were very similar in how we felt about this. You and I both said we were going to be bummed and we were going to be sad if McDermott was let go. I think I'm speaking for you when I say that you still feel that way.
Yep,
right?
I do.
So do you not, did you not feel that this was a little bit callous the way they went about getting rid of McDermott?
Callous. This business is callous, right?
That I agree. I'm not denying that.
For sure. I know you and I both agree this business is callous. But for someone that for 9 years, you say in his own words, brought this like he put respect on this franchise.
Yeah.
Built it brick by brick. You would have thought that even if you had differences, to the public, at least make it seem, well, there was mad love this guy. I wish him the best. But it was very like abrupt and short. But typically when things are abrupt and short, it's because it's been brewing a long time.
Right.
So in my opinion, I don't think this was I made a decision the last week and I've been wondering it. I think this has been weeks, months that this has been brewing. I mean, damn, it could have been years, right? I mean, these guys have been together 9 years. So in my opinion, callous, sure, warranted. Maybe Pegula feels like it's warranted. And he was like, I'm done. I'm not doing this.
But I think you and I agree, warranted can be argued. You can argue warranted. I don't think you can argue warranting a letter in which you spend one paragraph basically saying, hey, thanks, Sean, with a typo in it.
Yep.
You don't even repost his thank you to Buffalo letter. You post a video saying goodbye to him the next day. I had excuses in the comments telling me it takes time to edit it. I mean, how about just a little bit more? The guy didn't coach the team for 2 seasons. He quite literally has the highest winning percentage in franchise history and led one of the greatest eras of Buffalo Bills football we'll ever see. I think the guy deserved a little bit more than what felt like a thanks for your time. See you later, pal.
No, and I agree. I think you could have given him a little bit more love, even if you didn't mean it. Let the PR people take care of it. Let the people that normally do this give him a little gift basket on his way up, but make it look good. And that way you can keep it pushing. But typically when you don't make it look good, it's because you didn't care or something rather was in the way that didn't allow you to kind of do that. Or he's just simply out of touch. Maybe he's out of touch. I don't know how he deals with the firings that he's done.
You know what?
With the Sabres, but he potentially just out of touch. It's that simple.
I think they did not understand that people genuinely did love McDermott. I think, you know how sometimes the loudest mouths are usually in the minority? You know how those are the people who are, like, if you go online, sometimes the loudest voices are the ones that there doesn't have necessarily the collective mindset. I think that in this particular circumstance, I think there might have been a minority group of people that thought that McDermott was the absolute main problem, yet they were the ones that were the loudest, right, Rico? Constantly tweeting it. Fire McDermott, fire McDermott. So I wonder, by the time it's all said and done, Bill's brass thinks, oh, the fan base is going to love this. They're going to love that we throw McDermott out there to lay on the sword here. When in reality, I think people like you and me and many of us who have been watching this team our whole lives say, no, we have a lot of love and admiration for Sean McDermott and what he did over this last 9 years. We're understanding of the fact that it might be time for change, but we thought he deserved a little bit more than this out of nowhere, blink of an eye, gone. See ya. I'm not sitting here saying, hey, build Sean McDermott a statue outside of the new stadium. Okay, I'm not saying that. But it just felt like this was a little too much of a kicking him out the door as opposed to, hey, coach, with all sincerity, we can't thank you enough for what you did for our organization the last 9 years. That's all. It didn't.
And people are kind of comparing it to the Ravens moving on from Harbaugh. And the owner made it very clear. Whether he won, whether he didn't, he was out. Doesn't matter. But before he came to that decision, apparently there were tears. There were, He didn't feel good about it, but the decision had to be made because that it was tough. 18 years, it's a long time. 9 years is a long time, almost a decade. So that being said, when you're a billionaire, you don't become a billionaire out of nowhere. So you've had to do a lot of firing, moving on from people, and the more you do it, the less you give a rat's a. And I think that's probably what it came down to. Out of touch. I'm worth $1 billion, man. I've had to move on from so many people. I've had to have meetings with so many people that I didn't like, and I had to do it. So this is just another day for me. You guys felt something. I mean, you heard it. You're never around. So how could he? I mean, we don't publicly see him. Maybe he was around in the building a lot, but who knows? But this press conference.
Do you think, though? Before we dive into the press conference, one last question. Do you think, in their mind, whoever, Pegula, management that we don't hear from beyond Beane, do you think they thought this was going to go over well?
Well, that's a great question. Honestly, the way I looked at it, they didn't look prepared.
That's why I'm asking you, because it feels like they just did it in a way where they thought, oh my God, we lose again, so fire McDermott. This ought to put a Band-Aid on it. Right?
I'm not sure. I got to come back to that. That's a good
one.
Let's
watch it. We'll come back. Let's watch.
Yeah, we're gonna come back to that. That's a good one. All right. So, folks, lo and behold, the press conference today with Brandon Beane and Terry Pegula.
Working? Okay.
Before we get started,
thank you. I had something I wanted to say too.
What were you going to say?
Before they even speak, when I saw these two sitting there today, did it not just hit you where you're like, man, this is really a new era yet again. This is a new era of Buffalo Bills football. It just hit you right then and there, where like you just watched McDermott take this podium for nearly a decade. That's done. Done.
And now we're going to have a new face and new vibes, new everything. But that's not where I was going to go. I was going to go where when he adjusted his mic, I pleaded to Bill's PR, get some microphones for your reporters to ask questions, and they failed yet again. These assholes, pardon my language, I'm not even trying to do that. These guys don't give a rat's. They don't give a rat's but behind. Anyway, let's continue. You ready to go?
It has to be on purpose because every other outlet does it. I don't understand it.
I wonder if it's because they're giving the reporter that asked the questions their ability to not go on their own platform. I asked this question. Here's what he said. He's answering my question.
You don't want them recording internally? They think that's what it is?
I have no idea. I'm speculating.
Whatever. There's got to be a reason.
In the words of Pegula, I don't want to speculate.
First, I want to thank Sean McDermott for all the work he's done in Buffalo over the last 9 years. We all remember the playoff drought before Sean got here. Sean has definitely left the Buffalo Bills in a better place than when he arrived in 2017. He gave his heart and soul to trying to win a championship. I gave Sean his first head coaching job, and I'm proud of that. I don't think he's done coaching in this league, and I wish him the best. I also want to thank him and his wife.
I just thought it deserved a little more. I just thought it deserved a little more. Yeah. We all remember the drought years, and now coach has left us in a better place. Like, no.
Yeah, he could elaborate.
He did a 180 on the franchise here, Terry.
Yeah, he could elaborated. You know what I mean? Starting with he came out with starting with the quarterbacks. We've gone through a litany of quarterbacks, and we found one. And we got through the play. We went to the playoffs for the first time. He could have brought up the locker room scene, and he could have put a little more thought into it, a little more writing into it.
Yeah, like I'm not asking him to read off this soliloquy for half an hour, but it just made it seem like when you say he left it better than he found it, like you could have said that about somebody who came in and the franchise was 3-10, 3-14 before, and you left and you went 5-12. Like the guy literally reinvented the organization for nearly a decade. I just think
A little bit
it
more love.
deserved a little bit more love there. That's all.
No question.
Wife, Jamie, for the kind words and thoughts that they gave to me when Kim had her sudden cardiac arrest. And, it was really encouraging for all the kind thoughts that they gave our family while we were going through that ordeal. My decision to bring in a new coach was based on the results of our game in Denver. I want to take you in the locker room after that game. I looked around. First thing I noticed was our quarterback with his head down, crying. I looked at all the other players. I looked at their faces and our coaches. I walked over to Josh. He didn't even acknowledge I was there. First thing I said to him, I said, "That was a catch."
Let me stop that right there. I cringed when I saw that. You didn't have to do all that. At least for me. That was a catch. I'm inconsolable. I'm shattered. I'm in pieces. The last thing I want to hear was it was a catch. I don't even want to hear that part. At least that was for me. If I've been in positions in the locker room where we lost a big game and I'm not trying to hear anything. I want my silence. I want to pack my stuff. I don't want to get out of there. That's what I want to do. I ain't trying to hear anything because that's not going to change a damn thing. But as an owner, you don't know what to say. That was a catch. I know, coach. I know it. He's not going to say that. He's in the zone. Didn't like that, but it is what it is.
I think to your point, I'm guessing he just didn't know what to say. He probably saw Allen so dejected. He's probably like, I don't even know what to say to this guy.
Right. You know
I couldn't imagine standing next to Allen in that moment. I couldn't imagine.
You know what you do say? Keep your head up, kiddo. Keep your head up. Yeah. Give him a little embrace. You know what I mean? Rub him on the back and keep it rocking. We're men. We don't need to be coddled and told all that stuff, man. Yo, keep your head up. We're going to get him. All right. There's going to be some changes. Don't you worry about that. Who knows, right? Let's keep it rolling.
We all know what I'm talking about. He didn't acknowledge me. He just sat there sobbing. He was listless. He had given everything he had to try to win that game. And looking around, so did all the other players on the team. I saw the pain in Josh's face at his presser, and I felt his pain. I know we can do better, and I know we will get better. I want to express my confidence.
All right, let's pause right here. This is where it gets awfully interesting right here. Pause that. Pause that.
Here?
Yeah, click it back a couple of bits because this is where we transition from. He essentially talks about Allen, crying in the locker room, crying. They did everything they could to try to win that football game. Is that not to insinuate that Sean McDermott didn't do the same? Because I haven't seen Sean McDermott as dejected as I ever had until after that football game, where it felt like everybody was kind of in the same boat after that game, right? Everybody was that bummed out. Everybody was.
Yeah, true.
And I know he's going to go on to clarify later on in the press conference that it was the culmination of the playoff failures. But you and I think both agreed immediately following the post game that this game wouldn't be, if I was looking at one game to use as there it is. This is why you fire McDermott. It wasn't Saturday. That's all. Like, it wasn't Saturday. He'll go on. I earlier in when I first watched this, and that was what I first heard, the fact that he made it seem like it was just that game that was the reason for it, that didn't sit well with me. He'll go on to clarify it. But it just feels like in the beginning here, when you're talking about how sad and passionate the players were, including Allen, then he relays it into what we're about to talk about now, and that is the trust he has in Brandon Beane. It just kind of felt like as if it were to say, it's because of McDermott. is all. I don't know. Like, was McDermott not as disheveled as anybody else in that locker room?
Exactly. I didn't like that too, right? Like everybody's a mess. The coaches, everybody. That was a heartbreaking loss. Especially when you really want something. Like, it's different when the Bills made the playoffs for the first time. Like when Bo Nix said it last year. He's like, yo, when we made it, we were just happy to be here. Whoa, we made it to the playoffs. So when you lose, you're like, ooh, it hurts, but we're going to be back.
And Beane says that later on too.
Exactly. This one feels, ooh, this one hurt. Even, who was it that was in the locker room? James, he works for Bleacher Report. James, it's not coming to me right now. But anyway, he was like, I've been in every Bills locker room during a loss in the playoffs. This was by far the most different.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
The most different. But anyway, let's keep it rolling. By the way, I think this is so funny. No, Rico, that's just an old man thing to do. You'll get it. No, I won't. I won't just rip off gibberish. I will not do that. By the way, my man P Money says, y'all got the hate Pegula glasses on tight. We don't hate Pegula, brother. You know that. Don't start with me.
See, that's the thing, too. It's like, I think a lot of people are diehard Sabres fans. So that's trickling into this. Up until this point, and really, like right now, I'm still indifferent. I've never, ever once had a problem with Terry Pegula. The Bills have been the best they've ever been in my life since Terry Pegula took over this team. I'm more intrigued on sort of how this is being framed as all. And I'm still trying to come to the conclusion of what exactly is going on. I think a lot of people are. If you've noticed, by the way, if you're on social media, what's the majority of it? It's people trying to figure out exactly what's going on here. Always. I think, right?
At his presser, and I felt his pain. I know we can do better, and I know we will get better. I want to express my confidence in the guy sitting next to me, Brandon Beane, and the job he has done in resurrecting this franchise. I'm not going to sit here and defend everything that we have done as a franchise, but the bottom line is we have attracted good people here. Brandon has brought in Joe Shane, who's now the GM in New York. Dan Morgan, the GM in Carolina. Dennis Hickey, former GM in Miami. And our own Brian Gain, who's still here with us, former GM in Houston. There have been some very talented people that Brandon is associated with that he's brought through the front door here at One Bills Drive.
Pause. Once again, like, does this not immediately transition into, look at all the great, we have the sadness in the locker room, we have the failure of McDermott, now allow me to transition into all the great Brandon Beane has done.
You're bothered. I'm not as bothered as you, I'll admit. I'm not as bothered because I understand.
I don't even know if bothered's the right word, Rico. I'm more so
you're bothered.
I'm indifferent, I guess.
No, you're not indifferent. You're bothered. It's okay to be bothered by it because he's meant a lot. Don't forget, I know you've alluded to it a lot. You grew up in an era where this team was not a winning team. All you knew was a losing Bills team until we started winning. So McDermott kind of, you know what I mean, it was refreshing to have now something to root for. And now he's gone. He was the sole reason, obviously in the players, that this team has turned it around and did some good things. And now he's gone. And now you're kind of like, you know what I mean, subconsciously saying, what the hell, guys? Give
right, but I always lump that success together with McDermott and Beane.
Yeah, I got it.
Now you're watching it only be split down the middle where it seems as though Beane gets all the
credit,
all the benefit of it is all.
I got you. Keep rolling.
Yeah.
I'm aware there's criticism out there about our franchise. Does anyone know what the numbers 523-2226 represent?
I really want to know. That's a question.
I'm asking a question.
Oh, boy.
No. That's our seeding over the last 7 years in the playoffs. 5, 2, 3, 2, 2, to 6. An organization doesn't carry that kind of record without being a great organization and without having great players.
But what about a great coach? Don't you have to have a great coach to do the same?
And that's the thing, lack of acknowledging that part. It's feels like a shot.
It just seems like all the benefits going to the players and the GM, but for all the same reasons he's listing that those guys should get credit. I'm not saying they shouldn't. Why does McDermott get none of it?
He did shoot himself in the foot, whether he realizes or not, when he was talking about this roster is really, really good. It's really, really good, to the point where we had to go down to the practice squad. Pause. If you're dipping into the practice squad and you're still able to find success, you have to give credit to the coaching staff, your head coach. If you can put in a practice squad guy and he still does well. Fedarian Mathis had mad snaps. Zion Log had mad snaps, right, during the season. But you know what? No love for McDermott. So I get that part. He kind of shoots himself in the foot with that regard.
To have that kind of results without having a good roster. I hear it from my counterparts at league meetings. A lot of them talk about the Bills organization and the success we've had through the years. Our roster is a direct reflection of the hard work that Brandon and our scouting staff has done through the years. One may complain over a deal, over a player, over a result. But the bottom line is success over a long period of time means we're doing something right.
Pause that.
We are focused on bringing...
I'm interested in asking you this. If, say, you were to have not known McDermott got fired, and then he said everything he said up until this point the same, wouldn't you think this press conference would be about him addressing why they're retaining both Beane and McDermott?
Yeah, I get you.
If you were to have not known McDermott was fired, and he said every single thing he said directly, the exact same thing, would you not think this was a press conference being given to defend the fact that they're running it back with Beane and McDermott?
Yeah, it gives you that vibe. You're right about that. It does give you that vibe. It's like you're waiting for it to come in, and that's why we're gonna.
Like when I said to you earlier, I don't think, what was the word you said that I thought I used?
Indifferent. You said you're indifferent?
But you said you thought I was not angry, but something. It's not that I am indifferent, because I guess I'm confused. If you were to cut off the beginning where you talk about McDermott being let go, and then you were to read the rest of it, this to me reads as though, look at all the great we've done. This is why we're going to run it back, which they are. Bothered. Thank you, RG. Bothered. I guess what bothers me about it is that it reads as though everything they've done up until this point has been great, other than what McDermott's done. So then I'm led to believe, well, then what is it we don't know? Because everything else seems to be staying the same, except for McDermott. If you were to cut off the beginning portion where you are informed that McDermott is fired, you would be led to believe, if you were a Bills fan and you didn't know McDermott was fired and I showed you just this portion, I think the logical conclusion would be, look at Terry Pegula going to bat for his guys, sticking up for them, running it back yet again. Yeah. That's the vibe I get.
Yeah, you would think. You're right about that.
Do you feel that?
No, a little bit. I get what your vibe is, because if you were to cut the beginning off, I would think that, he's just kind of like preparing for the excuses, or putting a package together to let people know, despite this, that, the third, we're bringing him back. That's what it gives you that vibe. So I get your feeling on that. But total opposite. Total opposite.
Yeah. To Buffalo, we have an MVP quarterback in Josh Allen. I'm looking forward to having a successful coaching search. I know this is a desirable job. Our phones are ringing, and we're going to begin that process. So I'm going to turn it over to Brandon.
Thanks, Terry. I want to first off echo.
First of all, that shirt Brandon wearing under that damn freaking thing, golly. Anyway, let's keep rolling.
I think it could be fire without the overcoat. Like if he was just rocking that and that
take
alone,
the overcoat off and
fire.
just wear that. Don't do both. Don't do both, kid.
This, thanking Sean and his family. Even before arriving here in Buffalo in 2017, Sean and I started our journey together. Him as the D coordinator, me working my way up to assistant GM in Carolina. So that connection and that relationship, I know, factored into us building 9 seasons here, and a lot of accomplishments together. Things that we always worked on, things to get better, but we always did it together. And I'll always appreciate the years. And, you think about the things that you could have done better, but I'll also try to remember all the great times that we've had. And obviously this is the start of a new chapter, but Sean's a heck of a football coach, and we'll always root for him and his family. I want to thank our players, our coaches, our support staff. I wish we were, as I've said a lot, I wish we were preparing for an AFC championship game instead of up here right now. We know how close we were again. We just didn't get it done in Denver. But it wasn't for the lack of effort. And I told the team on Sunday that I'll remember this group as a resilient bunch. And I said resiliency is the one word the 2025 Bills will kind of always, as I look back on my tenure here. So I want to thank them all. We have a lot of work to do this offseason, like we do every year. We'll have decisions, and I know you guys will have roster questions or particular player questions. We'll answer those the best we can, about the salary cap and things.
Which they didn't. I was surprised there was not a whole lot of questions for that, but the way this interview went today, it just wasn't the vibe. So that's why I think we both agree that McDermott, Beane should have his own presser just to kind of address a lot of the things that we really do want to know.
Like that.
With that said, as we get into it, I got to give the Bills media a lot of credit. They asked some pretty terrific questions.
They did.
We'll see getting into this here.
I think they felt the steam of the crowd, and they're like, okay, let's get on it. We got to do our job.
And listen, I understand the frustrations out there. No one puts more pressure on me than myself. The term pressure is a privilege is spot on. And this job is a privilege. Working in this organization is a privilege, and I don't take it lightly. We have, as Terry alluded to, an MVP quarterback who just completed his 8th season here. And we have got to help him get to the Super Bowl and bring a championship to Buffalo. And part of the reason we're here stinks because we have to discuss, what happened this week, moving on from a head coach. I bear guilt, blame, responsibility. There's no finger pointing. I understand there's things I could have done better. And we're always looking to get better. And that'll never change. If we don't win the Super Bowl next season and I'm up here explaining where we are and what we have to do, there will be more things that we will work to get better. The goal here is to bring a championship to Buffalo. We've been close, as Terry said, 7 straight years in the postseason. I think he listed all the seeds. We have to get it over the top, and that starts with finding the right head coach. And we're starting that process as soon as today with interviews. So with that said, I'll turn over to questions for Terry or myself.
Before we get to questions, I will say that portion, and you mentioned it earlier. This is why, and I've said this a million times. Brandon Beane's 10 out of 10 at the podium. That's why what he did with GR was so out of character to me. I couldn't believe it. That's when I knew something was up. When he went on GR and had that episode, And then when he didn't make a move at the trade deadline and he was chalking it up to this isn't fantasy football and this and that, I couldn't believe what I was hearing, because this is the Brandon Beane that we love. This Brandon Beane right here handles the adversity with class. Think of all the things he's handled throughout the time. The Stephon Diggs situation, right? DeMar Hamlin and that whole awful scenario, all the losing in the biggest moments. He has handled these situations exceptionally well, including this one. And this is why I've always been a fan of his. My biggest thing this past year, and this is what it all boils down to me with, Rico, and this is where I think my confusion, then again, it gets doubled here.
Okay.
If you were to have done this, if this same thing were to have happened the day after 13 seconds, I think everybody would have been like, what can you really say? You had the dynasty beat and you play prevent defense with 13. If all of this would have happened then, no one's questioning it. I think what the weird thing here is that McDermott might have had one of the best coaching jobs of his tenure in Buffalo this year, while Brandon Beane perhaps had one of his worst years as GM of Buffalo this year. And the result is Beane getting fired, or excuse me, is McDermott getting fired 2 days after what I thought to be a pretty solid coaching outing with your offense turning the ball over 5 times, and Beane staying around after the laundry list of stuff that went wrong on his end of things this past season. Does that make sense?
It does what you. I'm looking at the comments at the same time. Some of these are ridiculous. It does make sense in a way of how you're explaining it. But I'm one of those situations. I'm looking for more. I want more depth. And the more these things unravel, or the more more is revealed, or I see more of Beane explain a little bit more, I can rest easy in understanding. Right now, I feel like there's still more to be revealed. I don't know. Does that make sense?
No, I get it, because like you, I think we like Beane. Like, that's the thing. We like Beane.
For sure.
There's this misconception that when I say I can't believe Beane wasn't canned along with McDermott, I can't believe it because of the timing of it. You had maybe the best year McDermott's had in quite some time.
Yep.
Parlayed with maybe the worst that Beane's had in quite some time, yet McDermott was the one who bared all the blame. And I feel like you can tell in the demeanor of Beane here, and this is why and there's people who think he was in on this whole thing. I don't buy that. I don't think he was in on this.
I was about to ask you that. Do you think he was like in the know of it's coming? It's coming, but he just didn't know when it's coming.
Whether he knew he was in on it or not is one, or whether he knew it was coming or not is one thing. I don't think Beane was in Terry's room saying, look, Shawnee McDermott's got to go. That I don't think that. Okay. I do not think that. No, I do not. What I do think, though, or what has led me to this just state of confusion is how this is all being conducted, I guess, is the best way to put it. So like I mentioned, if after 13 seconds this same thing unfolded, I don't think there'd be any confusion to be had, to be honest with you.
He may not have known about it or knew it was coming, but there's certain things that someone has to do or can do where someone just reads the room. And I think, because he said it earlier, Pegula later on said, he's just being nice. And then he just jumped in and said whatever he said. It'll come when we get there.
Okay.
So maybe he was voicing his frustration all season long with losing the Dolphins and then losing to Atlanta, and he's hearing, and Pegula and him are in the press box together. So he's hearing this and he's probably like taking notes, mental notes, and I'm referring to Pegula. And then by that time, he made his own decision based off of probably what Beane has been telling him all year. So is Beane innocent in all this? Maybe he didn't know it was coming, but I'm sure that he dropped enough hints to say maybe this might be it. Or you might be right on it where, bro, this was him and him alone. But I feel like he was saying it too often for it didn't come natural. That's just my opinion. When Pegula was like, and I did it and it was my decision. okay, we get it. But the way you were saying it and how often you said it, it's like, all right, we get it. Are you just trying to take away the pressure off of Beane, or was it truly you? So that's why I want to reading this over again and trying to kind of get it and listen. Maybe we'll kind of figure something out. Somebody was like, yo, I love all this playing detective. It's just like, because sometimes you gotta watch a movie a second time for like, oh, there's an Easter egg. There's an Easter egg. We might Easter eggs in this thing. And we're like, yo, did you hear that? Yeah. Well, that's what he meant. Sometimes you got to run it back a little bit. Sometimes you got to read a book twice so you can really enjoy it. You feel me? So anyway, let's get rolling.
Van Man, he's saying, Z-Bot, very bothered by this. It's becoming annoying. We need change. Listen, once again, Van Man, I've seen you in here all week. I've told you I'm fine with change. It is the way that the change is being conducted that has left me with a bunch of questions. And I feel like that's fair. This all seems very abrupt, and it feels like the organization wasn't wholeheartedly prepared for the response to it. It just kind of reads that way, is all. And also, by the way, are you not a little bit taken back by the fact that the second best coach in Buffalo Bills history after 9 years just got fired after an incredible run? I mean, we're watching an end of an era come to a close here. I understand that a lot of people want change and they want better, as do I. I want better. I want a Super Bowl. To not be a little taken back by this, though, that is what I don't understand. Like, I understand if you want to move forward and you want something different, you want change. I get that. But to not be taken back by this, especially the way I think it's gone down, that's not where I lie. I feel differently there.
I hear you on that one. Let's keep rolling. Let's keep rolling.
You mentioned that you thought it was a catch and told Josh it was a catch. Why would you fire a coach based on a bad officiating decision?
I did not fire a coach based on a bad officiating decision. If I can take you into that locker room, I felt like we hit the proverbial playoff wall.
I'm okay with this. If he came out and said, bro, the reason I fired him, honestly, or the reason I wanted to go in a different direction, I hate when they say fire. Anyway, the reason we went in a different direction is because I feel that we hit a wall. It's been 9 years. And he said it later on, and call it what you want to call it. Do you call it success when you go to the playoffs 7 straight years and no Super Bowl? Is that success? I was fine with that. At first, I wasn't sure how I felt about it, but then forget about how he delivered it. The message was, is that really success? That's 7 years. Like, what's the stat that's going out there? 5 years a coach will do with a rookie quarterback or a quarterback or something of that nature. And if they don't get it, they usually part ways. 5 years, bro. You had 5 years to get it done. You didn't get it done. You're out of here.
Yep.
McDermott was damn going on a decade, and you still didn't have some. This is where my man said, yo, I can't do this no more, bro. I can't do this. I'm looking at everybody cry. This is the 7th time I've seen these guys cry. I'm damn near running out of tears. All right. We done. We ain't doing this no more. So I get that part by Pegula. He may not come, he may come off as aloof, and I think he still is aloof, right? Like the old grandpa that, yeah, you want some change, grandchildren? Like, he's one of those guys. He gives me that impression, right? But you don't make big money like this and where you're at, you know what I'm saying, aloof your whole life. I mean, he may look it, but he may be onto something. So that's my angle on that part when he came up with that. But he'll elaborate a little bit more.
If he would have opened with that, it would have made a lot more sense. He said,
correct,
I made this decision after Saturday's game walking into the locker room. If he would have said, I made this decision after walking into the locker room Saturday with the combination of, and he'll go on to say that. The problem is, and whether this is right or wrong, the problem is not everybody is going to watch a 55-minute long presser. So when you watch the beginning of a 55-minute presser and a minute in, Pegula says, I made this decision because of Saturday's loss, what is 99% of people's takeaway going to be? I fired Sean McDermott because they lost on Saturday. And I don't think that's what he meant.
Werther's Originals, PBS Vibes, bro. That's it. Anybody want some Werther's? Werther's Originals? Come get some from Grandpa. That's kind of what he gives me that vibe. All right, let's keep it rolling.
Year after year, 13 seconds, missed field goals, the catch. So I just sensed in that locker room, like, where do we go from here?
To your point, when he came out and gave that 40-second, Sean McDermott was great to my wife. He reached out to her and he did all this, but he was good enough to remember 13 seconds, this, that, and the third, missed field goal, this, that. You could have reversed it and say, hey, man, we've had some really good wins and we had some really good times in the drought, the this, the that. He didn't get into that, but he's got all the negative stuff or the things that got him fired teed up, ready to go for everybody to hear. I found that very interesting now that we're watching it a second time. Here we go.
With what we have. And that was the basis for my decision.
Brandon, there's a report out there. There's a report out there that there was a meeting 5 weeks ago, and Sean expressed dissatisfaction with the roster.
Here comes the tea.
report is that was part of what has led to this today. You're not being happy with his assessment. Either one of you gentlemen could answer that if that was true.
I don't know where that came from, but we bet all the time. You know, I talk to Sean every day. Yeah, we talk about being dissatisfied with this, being happy with that, and whatnot. But we communicated all the time, and I don't know where that came from.
That's cap. That's
It wasn't a clear cut. No, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's a lie. Oh man, we're on to you. That's a lie. Don't play us. You know what I love doing too? I watch these body readers, body language readers, and they tell if someone's lying. I would love to have someone send them this video and be like, yo, out of these two, when they answer questions, who's lying based on body language? I'd love to know, because that was cap. That's you damn lie.
Given the fact
Like,
that,
but what I noticed though there is you instead of saying no, you just say we've had a lot of conversations, as if to say I'm not going to tell you that was the conversation we had, but we've had conversations, right? It's not that I'm going to tell you no, I'm not going to tell you yes either.
Right, there you go.
and was promoted, and congrats on that. And Sean was fired. Both played a role in the success and failure of this franchise. What came down to one over the other, or was it that easy?
By the way, pause.
Like I just said, I believe it.
Phenomenal question. Like that is the question right there. That is the question ruminating amongst everybody right there. So we got to pay close attention to this one.
Yeah, and by the way, the audio is way better than when I was listening to it live, because I couldn't hear anything. I'm actually hearing all the questions now. So
yeah,
PR did a decent job. I'm not going to give you all full credit.
Maybe they redid it or something.
Maybe.
Where does the leadership of the team on the field and in the locker room, where we go from that moment, which, another playoff failure. And that's why I decided that Sean had to leave.
See, rewind that to me again. Like I just rewind that back to the question as well.
What came down to one over the other, or was it that easy?
And Sean expressed dissatisfaction with the roster. The report is that was part of what has led to this today. You're not being happy with his assessment. Either one of you gentlemen could answer that if that was true.
I don't know where that came from, but we bet all.
No, you're right.
We talk and what time.
Brandon was promoted, and congrats on that. And Sean was fired. Both played a role in the success and failure of this franchise. What came down to one over the other, or was it that easy?
Like I just said, I believe it was. Where does the leadership of the team on the field and in the locker room, where we go from that moment, which, another playoff failure. And that's why I decided that Sean had to leave.
I mean, let's be 100% honest. That answer wasn't even remotely answered.
No, it wasn't.
That question wasn't even remotely answered. He was asked, Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane have both played in the successes and the failures of this team. Why was there a decision to keep one and not the other? And that question was literally not answered. It was not answered.
And that's a fair question. You fired one.
It is the question.
Yeah, you fired one and not the other. Was it just an easy decision of whatever? So he kind of alluded to like, it's where the leadership was going. We lost in the playoffs. Yeah, but why does he get off to be off the hook? I would have followed up. I would have been like, I appreciate that answer, Mr. Pegula, but why is Brandon Beane off the hook?
Go back a little bit. He made it seem like the leadership of the team stems from Beane, not McDermott. Let me make sure I'm hearing this right. Go back a little bit.
He made it seem like it's from McDermott.
Let me see it. Let me hear it again.
Where does the leadership of the team on the field and in the locker room, where we go from that moment, which, another playoff failure. And that's why I decided that Sean had to leave.
So he's basically saying Sean isn't the right leader, but he
Just
doesn't
bullshit.
address.
That's a terrible answer.
Right, because you can tell by the players' reactions that they think Sean's the leader. They think he's the guy. But he also does not comment on why Beane
stays
is considered to be the leader, considered to be the guy that does not need to face a similar fate.
I don't even think he's basing it on that. He's just basing it on like, I'm firing him because we missed the playoffs yet again. That's his premise. But these guys are like, yeah, but they both share success in this, but they both share failures. So maybe he should have formed the question. I mean, the question was perfect.
Perfect.
Like with a guy like him, you have to like say, so we understand why Sean got fired because of the playoffs, but like, where were his faults in this thing? You got to frame it like that. Like, that's how you got to frame it for guys that try to skirt around questions. You got to double back with that sucker, man. Man, I should have been in that room, boy.
How far before the playoff game had you maybe started thinking about this being a possibility?
After the playoff game.
Bullshit.
In the locker.
Bullshit. Bullshit. You knew you wanted to fight this guy weeks ago, months ago. At least that's my opinion. You didn't make this after that point. Great question from the young lady. I don't know who that was. BS. What are your thoughts? Got me all fired up there.
I struggle with this one because if it was right after that game, then how could that game possibly be the game that leads you to firing Coach McDermott? He also says it's another playoff failure, a list of playoff failures. Is it not a culmination of all of them? Wouldn't the answer be, well, when you consider all that's happened in the past, now adding yet another playoff failure, I felt as though after this most recent one, in combination with all the years past, it was time to consider a move. Like, does it? Because he was asked earlier if this was a decision. Because remember, somebody asked him if the Brandon Cooks catch, was he fired because of a catch, and he said no. I mean, doesn't this basically boil down to him saying that it was because of that game? It was because of that game.
Telling you.
Now I do think, but what I do think he means is that it was the playoff failures. But if it was because of all the other playoff failures, you can't tell me that those playoff failures weren't considered prior to going into this game, right?
Yeah. I'm sure he was holding it against him. Bro, we can't have another to me, and I don't think he said this in this, and I think I would have respected it more. I would have said, listen, folks, at the end of the day, this, for me, I needed my team to be at minimum in the Super Bowl, winning the Super Bowl. We didn't get it. We had 9 years to try to get this done. It's been 9 years. I'm not going a 10th. I did not want to go a 10th. So that's why we are here today. I did not want to go a 10th year. Yeah, but we're close. Close, but no cigar. And we haven't had a chance to smoke a cigar in 9 years. I gotta go get another supplier, bro. I gotta go somewhere else. Simple as that.
I feel like he could have just opened it up, and it would have been if all he had to simply say was, all of these postseason failures in culmination with this one was the reason why we're looking for new leadership. After you thank McDermott for all of his time,
There you go.
it was phrased so many different ways that I feel like it's leaving people wondering what exactly the reason behind it was.
I mean, just because you're a billionaire doesn't mean you're a great public speaker either. So maybe he's just not great at that. Like his forte is somewhere else. I'd love to know where that is. I mean, he's where he is for a reason. But I mean, shoot, it is what it is. It is what it is. Let's keep it rolling.
Yep.
So it wasn't a thought of.
I need to keep saying that. I keep saying it. It was feeling the moment, being there, being there.
Sorry, Terry. What process did you go through to evaluate whether it was, coaching versus talent on the roster? Over time, how did you evaluate it? What process did you go through?
Do you feel that they were asking Pegula way too many questions? I feel like I wanted those questions directed towards Beane and rather Pegula, because I knew you don't know any of that. You don't know anything about that. I mean, I could be totally wrong. Maybe he's a czar and he knows it. He just doesn't want to be part of the process. Highly doubtful. However, I find that quite fascinating, if you will. But
No, you got to ask as many. This is the time. How often do you get to speak to Terry? 1 and 2.
You're right about that.
This is the biggest organizational change in nearly a decade. You got to ask it while you can. I mean, you got to.
Good point.
Well, you see teams in the league. I'm not going to mention team names, but they have a great year, a good year, and the next year the success doesn't continue. Like I say, you don't get in the playoffs 7 straight years in this National Football League where there are very few blowouts and dozens and dozens of close games every year. You don't get there without having talent and a great organization. And Brandon and his staff have brought in regularly players that look at the injuries we had this year. We're down guys on the practice squad contributing in big games.
This is my biggest problem of the whole thing right here.
You don't do that without.
What's that?
Play that again. Hit play.
Just play it or rewind it?
You can hit play.
Talent in the front office.
So he's talking about being regularly bringing in top tier talent, including practice squad talent that contributed in a major way this year because of injuries. How is that not a credit to the head coach? How is that not a credit to the head coach? Sure, it's credit to Beane for bringing the guys in. Of course, you got to bring the guys in. Tip of the cap to Beane. This once again goes back to my blanket point about this whole thing. I can list you off the failures of McDermott. I can list you off the failures of Beane. I can list you off the successes of McDermott, the successes of Beane. In this particular statement, we're talking about a roster loaded with talent, which I don't think many people would necessarily agree with. And then we're also talking about a roster that has practice squad players that are contributing. Would that not be a testament to not only bringing guys in, which Beane does, but also getting the most out of guys like Coach Sean McDermott did? How is coaching up a practice squad player not considered to be an admirable, the word that's become famous this week? How would that not be considered an admirable job? Rewind that back just a little bit.
Hold on, before I rewind this would have been a perfect opportunity to be like, Mr. Pegula, out of the 9 years that Mr. Brandon Beane has been here, 56 players drafted, I believe. Brandon, is that correct? Yeah, that sounds about right. 2 Pro Bowlers. Care to explain? Yeah, I gotta hit him with the good stuff, man. Oh, missed opportunity. Let me rewind that for my man.
The follow-up point would have been, the follow-up question to me would have been, Terry, it's a great point you make. Beane's certainly brought in some guys that have contributed at a level that many people thought they wouldn't have. What would you say to Coach Sean McDermott's ability to be able to get practice squad guys who nobody expected much out of to play as well as they did?
Would have been nice. That would have been a great follow-up. and then he would have been a blah, blah,
Just
blah,
play
blah,
it back again. So let's see exactly what we
In the
what was.
playoffs, 7 straight years in this National Football League, where there are very few blowouts and dozens and dozens of close games every year. You don't get there without having talent and a great organization. And Brandon and his staff have brought in regularly players that look at the injuries we had this year. We're down guys on the practice squad contributing in big games. You don't do that without talent in the front office getting you there.
A big chunk of the fan base very frustrated with you specifically dating back.
You don't think you don't do that without adequate coaching?
Listen, definitely. And I'm sure Brandon Beane's like sitting there going, just don't say anymore. Just get through the question. And I mean, but I understand what he's saying. But it's very surface level. The GM brings in the rosters, but the hierarchy was very complicated. You had two guys rolling up to you. One was responsible for the roster, had say in potentially what was brought in. I'm sure they had conversations. So a lot of that, you have to give credit to McDermott, and he's refusing to do so. So there must have been some kind of rift between the two of them to not want to give him credit like that, to give him that little mini intro, right? That little letter that was the Admiral letter that he rolled out. I mean, there's a whole lot of things that are playing out. Call it he's 74 years old and he just doesn't know any better, or strategic. Call it what you want. But he's very plainly giving credit to one and very little to the other, if not none at all.
Don't do that without talent in the front office getting you there.
A big chunk of the fan base very frustrated with you specifically dating back to that interview that you did on WGR 550. Thought it was very condescending.
Shout out to Beane.
I think that a lot of people have come out frustrated with you, particularly that you're still here and Sean isn't. I think a lot of it leads back to that. Do you regret that? And do you think in hindsight, maybe not only the host, but the fan base was kind of right about that assumption about the position?
It's a long, probably.
I'll tell you this: when you asked that question, I was like, "Ooh, how you going to answer this one, buddy?"
For starters,
it was a well-formulated, constructed question. There ain't no. Can you repeat that for me? No, that was clear. Go ahead.
Perino, tip of the cap. I mean, bravo. Not only asking it, but you asked it in a very, very terrific manner. The way this goes down, though, nobody could predict it. Nobody could predict it. Watch this.
Yes, sir.
Answer for you, Matt. Listen, I'm a passionate person. I don't think that's new on anybody. And do I regret that? Probably the biggest regret is I probably put pressure on the wide receiver group when I reacted in that way because I felt like they were being picked on unfairly. And if you remember, not trying to rehash what happened, but I
kind of get that part.
By the way, sorry to cut you off, but I just wanted to say I thought we were about to get to the point where Pegula stole the mic, so that's my bad. We'll get to that in a second. Sorry, go ahead. That's why I built it up the way I did.
Sorry, my bad. I just kind of like the fact that I'm standing up for my guys, because that's what it looked initially. That's why I was happy about it. We were going back and forth, and I was like, I loved it. He's standing up for his boys, and I kind of like that regard. Anyways,
go on, man. We had the number 2 scoring offense, and we were just we had some tweaks there. It wasn't the exact same group, but it was a similar group that we thought an addition here or there. Even when I did that interview, I knew we were adding Elijah Moore later that day. And so it was probably more of a reaction to, we just had a draft of defensive guys that we thought could help this team get over the top. And it was more in the defense of that group. Do I regret how it's turned out? Sure. It was not meant to be condescending. It was me having a little bit of too much passion, I guess, if you want to say, hey, I shouldn't have done that. at the end of the day. It wasn't, I had nothing against those hosts. I think I did another interview with those guys. I've done them before. I did it at training camp when the next opportunity was. So it wasn't anything personal or anything like that. It was just more coming to the defense of our players because I felt like they were being picked on and they couldn't defend themselves at that point.
And further that, though, the wide receiver position has been an issue with this team, and a lot of people out there believe you have failed.
Rico, pause it for literally 2 seconds. I got to help Caroline for like 2 seconds right here because this is a big part. Real quick.
Yeah. So as my man Bot goes to go do his thing, I had no problems with the presser. By the way, the questions are crystal clear. I couldn't hear it when I was watching it, but I had no problems with some of the answers that were given today. There were some that were okay. Can some people be as eloquent as others? No. Terry Pegula is not that individual. But I mean, he's sharper than me. I mean, I just have to look how old he was because I was curious how old he was. He's 74. I mean, so some things are not going to come out as clear as you'd like him to. So you can't take every word literally of what he's saying, but you have to get the gist of what he's saying. So I had to, while rewatching this, I'm trying to give him that grace, if you will, right? To kind of say, okay, what's he really saying? What did he say? So was it literal, or do I have to kind of guess what he's trying to get at? Because Walt's trying to give him some love in the chat. You guys know what he was trying to say. No, but sometimes you got to say what you mean and mean what you say. And me guessing to see what it was, but after factoring his age a little bit, maybe I have to kind of take a look, see. But I didn't really mind some of the answers that were given in some of these questions. So somebody said, I don't want to hear from a 74-year-old. Well, he's the owner, so you're going to have to hear from him. All right, let's keep it rolling.
And then obviously with the Keon Coleman signing, which hasn't
Here we go.
worked out.
You with those guys, I've done them before. I did it at training camp when the next opportunity was. So it wasn't anything personal or anything like that. It was just more coming to the defense of our players because I felt like they were being picked on and they couldn't defend themselves at that point.
And further that, though, the wide receiver position has been an issue with this team, and a lot of people out there believe you have failed in the free agent market, and then obviously with the Keon Coleman signing, which hasn't worked out. How do you answer the fact that you have not given Josh a good enough wide receiver room?
Yeah, I mean,
Can I interrupt? I'll address the Keon situation.
Before he gets in there, I wanted Beane to answer the question, and it's as if he came in and was like, no, don't answer that. I'll take this. But why? Let him answer. Anyway, let me keep going.
The coaching staff pushed to draft Keon. I'm not saying Brandon wouldn't have drafted him, but he wasn't his next choice. That was Brandon being a team player and taking advice of his coaching staff, who felt strongly about the player. And, he's taken, for some reason, heat over it and not saying a word about it. But I'm here to tell you the true story.
Bar none, the worst portion of this entire thing. That could not have gone any worse. That could not have looked any worse for a multitude of reasons. For a litany of reasons how bad that was right there. For starters, I will preface that it came out afterwards, and I don't know, apparently Pegula had clarified to the AP he wasn't referring specifically to McDermott when he said coaching staff.
Yeah.
But coaching staff nonetheless. So what you just watched here was coaching staff, whoever that is, thrown under the bus. You tell a wide receiver that is currently on your roster that your general manager did not particularly want you very much. He was not your top pick. You're telling everybody that basically, everyone's aware of the fact that this hasn't really worked out very well, but it's not because it's not really because of us, not really our fault. You're also saying that the opinions of the coaching staff outweigh the GM. You had made this whole statement earlier about how you have all this trust in the decision making of Beane. yet the coaching staff overrides that decision making. And now when it goes wrong, it's all the coaching staff's fault. But when you talk throughout the presser about all the players that were added to help out this team, including the practice squad players that were alluded to earlier that allowed this personnel to be good enough to make the playoffs, that's all Beane's success. So because Beane didn't technically want Coleman at the top, not his fault, but everybody else that he drafts, all the credit to Beane. Is that what I'm hearing?
That's pretty much what pretty much. But here's reading that again. I got to read that. I got to replay that part.
Yeah, do that again.
I actually find this comical.
The coaching staff pushed.
Keon Coleman signing, which hasn't worked out. How do you answer the fact that you have not given Josh a good enough wide receiver room thus far?
Yeah, I mean,
Can I interrupt?
Boom. Right there. If this ain't what? Dude, what's this look tell you? I don't know. In the chat, when you look at Brandon Beane and he got interrupted, what's that look tell you? Is he just like shocked, or is he like, oh shit, what you gonna say? What you gonna say? So I'm looking at this two ways. Maybe Brandon has been being the bigger person, and because let's be real, there's a lot of ego in football. Okay, you got the head coach that's in charge of the staff, that's in charge of the roster, that's in charge of trying to get wins, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You got the GM that's in charge of getting the groceries, meaning the players, free agency, drafting, all of that. So everyone's got their ego, right? When things are great, we all kumbaya. When things aren't great, you're gonna see it, you're gonna hear it. And the fact that Pegula jumps in, he's like, bro, you ain't gotta save him no more. That's what it felt like. You ain't gotta save him no more. I'll jump in to help you. Right? Not that he needed help, but I would have loved to hear his answer from this. But Pegula came in and kind of hijacked it too many times for my liking. But anyway, let's run this run.
I'll address the Keon situation. The coaching staff pushed to draft Keon.
Coaching staff. Just say Sean
By the
McDermott.
way, so I know later on he clarifies it wasn't McDermott, but here's the other thing I have to add. How many people are going to see later on after the fact that he clarified after the fact that it wasn't supposed to be about McDermott? If you hear that, what is your first reaction? McDermott. How could it not be?
Yeah. 100%.
I'm not saying Brandon wouldn't have drafted him, but he wasn't his next choice. That was Brandon being a team player and taking advice of his coaching staff, who felt strongly about the player. And,
boom, that arm out. I'm a very big body language guy. Arm out. See, I got you. Almost like, see, you ain't got to talk about it. I got you, bro. You're being too nice. I got you, bro.
He's taken, for some reason, heat over.
For some reason.
That's what kills me the most. For some reason, Terry, he's the general manager. For some reason, I'll give you the reason. He's the GM. The GM does the draft. The GM sends the card in. For some reason, I don't even understand how that's plausible to have.
Let's keep that rolling. Hold on.
It and not saying a word about it, but I'm here to tell you.
I'm here. Come after me. I'm 74. I'm here. That's pretty much what he's saying. Leave. Don't go after the children. Come after me. I can take it. I'm 40, bro. That's what he told me.
I'm a man. Is that what you're talking about? That press conference?
I'm a man.
I'm a man.
I'm 74. I got words.
And I'm telling you right now, whatever answer Beaton would have given, regardless of what it would have been like this is of this whole thing. This soundbite is huge.
Yeah.
And like, how did not just Coleman, but what do the rest of the players feel like? Do they feel like this could be what the same fate that they were dealt? Or like, oh, did they really want me? But so and so vouched for me, so they went this way. I just can't believe this was the angle taken. Of the last couple of years, Elam and Coleman, right? The two big what just happened here at the top of the draft. To grab the mic and pin it on the coaching staff without even allowing Beane to speak, I was flabbergasted.
I knew you were going to say flabbergasted. I love that. Well done. By the way, for those that are tuned in right now, we've got 2,900 of you guys in the chat. Whether you're watching on X, where you're watching all social media platforms, do us a favor, smash that like, hit that like, share it, all that good stuff. Let's roll. Let's keep it rolling. By the way, my man P Money says, yo, this was the worst part of the presser for sure. I agree. Come after me. I'm him. Here we go.
True story.
Hey, it would a true story. Hey, you didn't have to do that though. You didn't have to do that to say true story. Let's keep it rolling. I just caught that myself right now.
Yeah. At the end of the day, Sal, it's some of it is the evolution of how you build your roster. If you look back to, let's go to the 2020, 2021, those before we paid Josh, okay, we made the move for Stephon Diggs, obviously paid him, Cole Beasley, John Brown, Emmanuel Sanders, drafted Gabe Davis. We were in a lot of 10 personnel. The game changes, it evolves. Some things don't change, but some things do. And so the league at that time was, and what our coaches asked for back when Brian Dable was here, was to spread things out. Okay. We want to spread these guys out and get mismatches. Well, then defenses started saying, okay, we're going to get smaller and more athletic. So we're going to bring things in. You've seen the last couple of years, we've been in more with more tight ends on the field, running the ball more. So there's just different iterations of how you score points. And you have to, when you're paying Josh what you're paying him now versus what you were paying him in 2020, 2021, 2022, you got to make some sacrifices. And where we pick, we're not picking at the top. Okay. When you say free agency, like, I'm not sure what players that we could have acquired, that I've got to be able to afford them. Okay. So you're making selections. The number one thing I always want to do with Josh Allen is protect him. Okay. We've had an O-line that's gotten better and better that also helped us have a leading rusher this year. And so we want to be two-dimensional. We want to be balanced. If you look at some of the things offensively, numbers-wise, how we rank, I think a year ago we were 2. This year maybe we dropped 1.5 points. We were 4th. I want number one receivers everywhere. I do. But I also want to make sure, there's teams out there with number one receivers that haven't made it as far as we do, maybe because their O-line's not as good, maybe because they made concessions on defense or other areas.
Stop for a second. Let's just quick exercise. Out of all the teams that made the playoffs, did which team didn't, other than the Bills, which team did not have like a bona fide number one receiver? Chargers, number one receiver?
Lad's better than what I think the Bills are feeling right now. Yeah.
Would you call him like a bona fide number one receiver? Like that's a go-to guy?
I don't know if I would say the Chargers isn't the best wide receiver core, but they're not. I don't think it's as bad as Buffalo's. No.
All right. Let's go to the Broncos. Number one receiver?
Sutton's would be number one on Buffalo right now. Yep.
Okay. Let's go to Patriots. Number one receiver?
Well, that's the one that kills you, is that the Patriots are now in the AFC Championship with the leading touchdown receiver for the Buffalo Bills last year in Matt Collins. And, of course, Stephon Diggs, the only number one Josh Allen has had since he was the quarterback.
Cool. Jaguars, number one receiver?
They have 3 really good receivers.
So, like, the Seattle Seahawks.
JSN might be the best receiver in the NFL.
49ers.
Without the injuries, I don't think that they don't have like a Puka, like the Rams, for instance. They have maybe the best duo, but the Niners have one of the best tight ends in league history, one of the best running backs, and without the injuries, I think they have a solid wide receiver core. Nothing special.
LA Rams.
Rams have maybe the best wide receiver core in the NFL.
So, like, and Jennings is a good player. Ricky Pearsall's in that.
Sure. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's nothing crazy, but it's good.
So I'm not really buying that whole part. You know what I mean, they don't go as far as. Anyway, I digress. Let me just keep rolling. Let's keep rolling.
You gotta kind of make some concessions, but I promise you, we're looking. And to the point, I think it came up at the trade deadline when I came in here. We talked about some of the players that we tried to acquire. We're always trying to acquire them. Can I do better? Heck yeah. Heck yeah.
Brandon, at the trade deadline, you said that you felt the team had a championship roster. What, in your mind, led to the group falling short of that?
I mean, Jay.
A bad call.
Okay. What the hell was that? I'm still puzzled by this. Can anybody in the chat let me know what the hell that means? Like, let's rewind the question and then explain to me what that meant. I'm puzzled by it. Please, somebody let me know.
We're always trying to acquire them. Can I do better? Heck yeah. Heck yeah.
Brandon, at the trade deadline, you said that you felt the team had a championship roster. What, in your mind, led to the group falling short of that?
You thought you had a championship roster. In your mind, how did you fall short of that? A bad call. What bad call?
Did you see the new angle of that throw, by the way, that came out?
Sorry?
Did you see the alternate angle of that throw that came out, by the way?
I did, and you're not going to want to hear what I said the other day.
If it's anything other than that was a catch, then no, I do not.
you don't want to hear that from me.
Okay.
But that other angle looks pretty good, though. I'm not going to lie. What does that mean, a bad call? I need to know. What the hell does that mean? What's he talking about? What
that means to me is that what this whole press conference has been. I think it's just, continuously trying to.
I don't know. I'm curious. Tell me what the hell he's talking about. Bad call.
I think he's just continuously trying to go to bat for Beane throughout this entire press conference. He's trying to go to bat for him every chance that he gets. But that, of course, has got nothing to do with the roster. Nothing.
No, this is what I mean.
Nothing.
Talked about
absolutely
some of the players
nothing
that we tried to acquire. We're always trying to acquire them. Can I do better? Heck yeah. Heck yeah.
Brandon, at the trade deadline, you said that you felt the team had a championship roster. What, in your mind, led to the group falling short of that?
I mean, Jay.
A bad call.
Yeah, I mean, Jay, I would say we went to Jacksonville and we won, a good team. And then we went to Denver, who was the 1 seed. And we obviously had turnovers in the game, but I would say we had every chance to win that game. And as I said earlier, not be playing here. So we didn't get it done, but it doesn't mean that we didn't have the opportunity or have a team that could have gotten it done.
Terry,
you've emphasized.
Now, see, that I agree with that.
What exactly do you agree with?
Like, they had enough to get it. They did have enough to get it done. To me, that loss to the Broncos had nothing to do with the roster fielded out there. They had enough to get it done.
Agreed. I agree.
Point blank. Point blank.
Yeah. I mean, we know what the deal is.
And as much as you know that I am absolutely irate about that Brandon Cooks call, you cannot pinpoint that as the singular reason as to why that team lost to the Denver Broncos. That is foolish to do so. You cannot possibly pin that loss exclusively on that play.
No, definitely not. You can't do that.
To win that
bad
game.
Call.
And as I said earlier, not be playing here. So we didn't get it done, but it doesn't mean that we didn't have the opportunity or have a team that could have gotten it done.
Terry,
you've emphasized how important Josh is to this franchise and how seeing him after the game was a factor. What input did he add, if any, on this decision to fire Sean, or what conversations have you had with Josh Allen?
He didn't have any input at all. I didn't talk to Josh about this. I talked to him afterwards, and that conversation will stay private, but he had no input in it.
The idea of everybody being in lockstep, which was a big part of bringing in your coach and your general manager at the same time, how did that dissolve? The idea that everybody being
Remember
on the
this
same
hit a
page,
sore
everybody having the
sore
same
spot.
vision.
I don't think it dissolved, Tim. Like, I'm not like, when you say it dissolved, what do you like? Are you saying an instance, or like, what do you mean?
Over time, how maybe you saw things differently. You say you have different needs or different thoughts on drafting or direction of the team, or why the general manager gets a promotion when the head coach gets fired despite having the same record. There's obviously a disconnect between those two things.
Well, I would say
That was a bomb question, by the way. I like that.
I-
Head coach gets fired. Oh, I love it. Keep going.
What exactly was the question? I couldn't quite make it out.
Okay, I'm gonna play it. He made him. It's the rephrase question that's better.
Direction of the team or why
instance, or like, what do you mean?
over time, how maybe you saw things differently. You know, you say you had different needs or different thoughts on drafting or
Him and McDermott?
Yeah, he's pretty much asking like, what had your relationship dissolve? Like, why did you guys pretty much think you guys were cool, and all of a sudden it wasn't the same anymore? What made it dissolve? And he's like, dissolve? What the hell are you talking about? So then this is where he comes in.
direction of the team or why
Roster, direction of the team, et cetera, et cetera.
head coach gets fired despite having the same record. There's obviously a disconnect between those two things.
Well, I would say when we acquired players, and this isn't changing going forward, Tim, whether it's a draft or free agency, the personnel department, we're not just saying, hey, we're taking this player, hey, we're signing this player. We share in those conversations. Now, sometimes a decision's got to be made, and sometimes I don't always sign the player that I think is the best, and sometimes I do. And maybe the coach.
I didn't like when he made that statement. I don't always sign the player that's the best. Why not? What does that mean? Like,
So I see what you're saying. I think that probably means the inability to do it is what I'm taking from that. I feel like he probably meant to say, if I could sign every best player, I would. It's
Which makes
probably
sense.
right. Like that. That's what that's the problem. Like sometimes you got to use critical thinking here and nuance. Like there's no way he's not signing the best unless there's a massive character issue, I would imagine, or they can't afford it. Right?
Or
That's what I'm taking.
It's not a culture fit for McDermott, because I wonder if McDermott's like, nah, not him, because I heard XYZ, or I know this like this. This guy would be better fit.
Yeah,
but this guy's the better player, but this one fits. So I wonder if that would have made them dissolve as well, right? Okay, let's keep rolling.
You have to make a decision. But the thing I would applaud what Sean and I have had here, this has been 9 seasons, not something like 2 or 3. This has been 9 seasons that we did a lot of good things and brought in a lot of good players and a lot of good coaches and won a ton of football games. I think we've won 60-some% of our games, which is, which says there's been success. What Terry, has said was the proverbial playoff wall. So I don't think that's anything dissolved. I think that was the decision he made. We were still communicating through last draft, through last offseason. It was a heavy defensive draft. And Sean was very involved, and his coaches in the selections that we were making and getting the guys on the field and develop them. So I don't think it got to a point where we were signing or drafting players, out of alignment.
If I can clarify
Tim, you can't. I wouldn't use the word dissolve. We all debate and argue with each other in any organization. We're talking about a football team here. Everybody has their input, and not everyone agrees on everything you do inside that organization. That doesn't mean relationships dissolve. It's just, to me, it's healthy. You foster debate. I disagree with you. Like, this guy's told me to F off a couple times, trust me. And I strongly disagreed with some pretty good players that he's drafted. I'm not mentioning names. But it doesn't dissolve the relationship.
That's
just
interesting,
the way
is it
we
not?
operate.
I'd love to know. I'd love to know what that means. You know what's funny about all of this is that as much as you're told, and as much as we listen, it's the stuff you'll never know that leaves you the most intrigued.
For sure.
It's all the stuff you hear that makes you wonder 10 times more about the stuff you'll never know about.
So much. There's so much we'll never know. So much.
Brandon, I think there's a new structure of if you're now the president of football operations and the general manager. What was it like before as far as who reports to whom when you hire a new head coach? How that will work going forward?
Yeah, we have a group of us that are going to work together to hire the head coach. It'll be Terry, myself, Pete, Brian Gain, Terrence Gray, both of our assistant GMs, and Laura Pegula, and Josh will have some involvement as well.
Brandon or Terry, when you make a coaching decision, I think there might be a sentiment that they must have somebody in mind. That is why they are moving on. I understand you are going through a search, but is there a front runner? Is there somebody you are targeting, or is this completely an open search, no decisions made yet?
What do you think? You think that this is an absolute open search and this is such an abrupt firing that they really don't have anybody in mind?
See, I think that they have people in mind. Here's where I struggle. There are as many openings now as there's really ever been. This is a really rough time to be looking for a head coach. It's a phenomenal question asked. You don't make this decision. Now, in terms of, is there one guy? That I doubt. Maybe there's a guy they like more than the rest. But I don't think this decision was made with another guy already etched in stone that they plan on immediately replacing. You've already seen some top candidates go, by the way. Just last night, Robert Saleh was hired to take one more remaining spot. This is a really interesting cycle to be a part of because not only are you looking for your first new head coach in nearly a decade, but you're also doing so with a ton of openings available. So I think there's a list, Rico, but I don't think that there is a set in stone person or maybe two people that they are having to have, which makes it even more interesting.
Yeah, gotcha.
It's 100% an open search. We're still sorting through the names. We're vetting names, Matt. I think Derek was telling me before we came down, some of the guys were leaked out that are coming in, but the list is not final. And there's still 4 teams playing too that could have some candidates. By the rule, we can't interview any of those until their seasons are complete. But yeah,
do we know that, does that rule still apply when there's a 2-week break between the Super Bowl?
You're not allowed to interview someone who makes the Super Bowl until after the Super Bowl is over.
Until after. Okay, so it doesn't even matter. Okay, cool.
So yeah, like your Kubiaks of the world, LaFleur. Yeah.
Okay.
It's an open process. There is no front runner, old, young, former coach, first-time coach. We're opening every door. We got to find the right guy for this team to help get us over the hump.
Brandon, you look at the coaching situation, you said they've hit a wall, but with Sean, you guys have been in that position each year, close. Is it a risk to make a change now? And isn't there going to be high pressure on the next coach coming in because you have been this close to this point?
There is definitely risk. We've got to make the best decision. So that's a fact. And what was the rest?
Pressure on the new coach coming in because you've already established where you have been for 7 straight years.
I can tell you this, there's desire. I don't know about pressure right now, but there's a lot of people that want to look at taking this job. There's a lot of interest.
Is it Super Bowl or bust? Because in 2026,
no, we can't say that to somebody coming in. We're making a change, and it's do your best job.
No,
I mean,
no.
Then why are we doing this?
If it's do your best job, then that means you should have got rid of McDermott and you should have got rid of Beane and you would have started all over. You didn't start all over because you have a roster worth and still competitive enough that you were knocking on the door to go to the AFC Championship. Cut the bullshit, old man. Cut it out. So the coach that does come in does have a tremendous amount of pressure. That's what every coach should have. The only time any coach should come into a team that's already set up to, that's not set up to win is a brand new coach with a brand new, like when McDermott came in with a franchise that was garbage. Give me 5 years, I'll rebuild that. But this is a roster ready to win. So whoever comes in, they need to come over and you don't get the chance to restart. Get the heck out of here, old man. This is what annoyed me with him this whole time in this portion right here. No, he doesn't get to. Break, stop the cap, man. That annoyed me a lot. Anyway, let me keep going before I get all mad.
Joe Will, you can't say it's Super Bowl or bust. The candidates wouldn't want that pressure. Y'all sound clueless. You don't think they're aware of the fact that they just fired a guy who had the highest winning percentage amongst all 4 major sports organizations in the last 5 years, won a playoff game the last 6 consecutive years, did all that he did, 5 straight AFC East titles, highest scoring offense, lowest amount of points scored on defense. You don't think it's Super Bowl or bust for the next guy coming in? Because they just fired Sean McDermott for not doing that. But now it leaves you wondering what is the question now. How long is the leash until Super Bowl or bust? Because as I've mentioned, if this new hire results in anything shy of a Super Bowl appearance, it is a failure. So how can it possibly be do a good job? The Bills have done an exemplary job for the last 9 years. In fact, they've done as good of a job as any team in sports has.
Why are you being so nice to Chill Will? Tell Chill Will to go eat a bag and sit in the corner as well. I got bags for everybody, man. Go eat a bag and sit in the corner, Chill Will. If you are a coach coming into a team that's damn near got the best quarterback in the game, that's just a couple spots away, a couple positions away from really getting back to the playoffs for 8 consecutive time, and you think they're going to come in with, I don't want a team that I got to then that's not the job for you, Chill Will.
What do you mean you pick and choose when we want the truth?
Stop with that? But leave that fool alone, man. Get out of here with that, Chill Will.
I'm just confused at times at what people want. Like, once again, Walt, you want to make the job look unattractive and send the direct message of Super Bowl or bust. Was the message not sent when you just fired Sean McDermott? You just fired Sean McDermott because it was Super Bowl or bust, clearly.
Damn. Andy Reid was fired from the Eagles. The roster was still a good roster. Peterman came in and won. Shut up. That's why they're moving on from McDermott. If they wanted it to just be try your best, they would have kept him. So whoever's coming in is knowing there's pressure. It's always Super Bowl or bust. You have a franchise quarterback. You have core pieces on this defense. You have a great O-line. What are we talking about? But stop giving time to fools that with those silly questions. Golly,
this is the most pressure-packed job available. Is it the most desirable? Probably, because you get to coach one of the best quarterbacks to do it.
Yes.
This is the most pressure. This in the Ravens' job, if you don't think you are signing up to carry 10,000 pounds worth of pressure on your back during your tenure at that job, I don't know what to tell you. I just don't. And I can't believe he phrased it like that. I just can't. But what was it to do a good job? They just did an exemplary job, an amazing job, the best job any team has done. If you remove not winning a Super Bowl or getting to a Super Bowl, no franchise has had more success in the NFL over the last half decade. So how is it not Super Bowl or bust?
Hell yeah, Super Bowl or bust. And you better know. Listen, not only is Super Bowl or bust, forget about like knowing that you have a franchise quarterback on your squad. You're in the AFC. You got to go against Pat Mahomes. You got to go against Joe Burrow if he stays healthy. You got to go back against Lamar Jackson. That's going to have a new head coach, and it could be Sean McDermott. You got to go against the Chargers that have a new offensive coordinator. Did you see the schedule for the Bills next year? Chill Will, Walt, get out of here with that, man. Yo, whoever comes in, know that we need something. That's why we moved on from Sean McDermott. So if you're the candidate, understand that we need this. The city needs this. So are you up for that pressure? No, I'm not up for it. Then you're not the guy for the job. This is a coveted job, man. Get out of here with that. Boy, start getting heated, Bot. I need you to get heated with me. All right, let's roll.
Brandon, how would you categorize your relationships, specifically throughout the season this year with Sean? And I ask you that because the perception from the fan base out there is that this was some kind of power play made by you to still be here in Sean now.
Yeah. As Terry said, there's disagreements all throughout, way before this year. It's not like we were 100% always in agreement on every decision that he made or I made. That just comes with the territory, and I wouldn't expect that with the next head coach. There's certain things that fall in his his area, whether it's managing a game, how we schemed a game, whatever it is that are his. And then there's certain decisions that personnel related, somebody's got to make the final call. What was the saying about?
Can I help him a little?
Oh boy.
Can I help you about the power play part of that? I'm the kind of guy, if I sense you're on a power play, you're out. I don't like power play people. We have an organization we work together, but any sense at all that he was on a power play, he would have been gone.
And
because that's not my kind of person.
And Joe, like, that's hurtful to even hear that or say that. Like, I worked 19 seasons starting as an intern in Carolina and worked my way up. I came here and I've never tried to do that. I would love for anyone who's making that accusation to walk in these doors and ask any person, player, coach, trainer, anyone. Like, people can disagree with draft picks that I make or people I sign or I screwed up the wide receivers, whatever it is. Like, those are harmful things that.
Walt says, you guys seem to be struggling with the idea of two things that can be true. You can have the expectation of winning a Super Bowl or bust without sending out a message directly on making the organization look cutthroat. Listen, you got to be a dummy thinking that you can come in and think it's not going to be. You don't have to necessarily, whether you say it or you don't. You're coming to a franchise that has been a playoff team 7 years straight. Whether he says it or not, the pressure's there. You should know that you're coming into a pressure spot. Some bozo asked, well, you're going to fire him if he doesn't get it after the first year? Bro, you're hiring someone long-term that is going to get you over the hump. That's why this hiring is so important. You just can't hire some nobody. You got to hire someone that's got a pedigree. So who they grab, good luck, because there will be pressure on that person. I had to just get that out there.
But that's what interests me about this hire is what is how long is the leash? This is what interests me. No, if you come in and don't go to Terry's point, is in terms of Super Bowl or bust, if you don't come in and win one in 2026, the likelihood you're going to get fired is probably zero.
True.
My question is, what's the threshold? Are we going to do yet another 9 years of getting to the doorstep or not? This is what I'm wondering. Yeah. And I'm wondering what the mindset is there. And if the thing of it is the pressure is on everyone. The pressure is on Pegula because he then put the pressure on Beane, who's now putting the pressure on this new hire. So the pressure is, you thought there was pressure going in this year and last year. The pressure is just insurmountable. It's insurmountable because of what's at stake. You want to know the reason why they made this move in the first place? Is because they know this. They couldn't be more aware of this. Any other franchise would not have made this move. I talked about this the other day with Harbaugh and the Giants. And I said it couldn't be a more perfect hire. Why? Because if the Giants next year go 8-9, they're going to be throwing a parade on the outskirts of East Rutherford. They're going to say, finally, we got some hope. Finally, we got something to root for. Finally, we're on the up and up. There's a difference between taking over an organization like the Browns, the Raiders, the Giants, and taking over a gig like Buffalo. You go to those three aforementioned teams, all they want is some stability, a culture, and something to be happy about for the future, something to be excited about. This job right here, all this entails, the only requirement on the job list is get to a damn Super Bowl. That's it. Because if you were to do what you do what Sean McDermott did during his tenure, it will be considered a failure because it was considered to be a failure for Sean McDermott. And what he did during his tenure, I think it gets lost because there's no title to show for it. Sean McDermott had an exceptional tenure in Buffalo, just doesn't have a trophy to show for it. My question is, how long does the next guy get before they say, we're going down a similar path as Sean, we're moving on to the next one?
That will be an interesting question. Or I don't know how long Brandon Beane has on his contract. I don't know. It seems like these guys are pretty locked in like this, so I don't see Beane leaving anytime soon. However, it could be structured in a way where it's like, yo, you're choosing the next head coach. If y'all don't get it done in 3 years, we'll say 3 just to kind of
This
give
is
it
how
4 years.
that's how I see it. I think 3 years seems to be the number to me as well.
That's the number, right? You sound about right. Yeah, 3 years.
Yep.
3 years, maybe 4, depending. I don't know. If you guys can get it done in 3 or 4 years, both of y'all are gone because you picked your coach. So Beane and your boy can go. And then now at that point, I would suck because that would make Josh 33, 34. Golly, I don't even want to go there. Or I don't even want to go there. Let's roll.
You know, I walk in the door and my wife's got tears coming down her face for stuff like that. And I'm going to damn try hard to win a Super Bowl here. I am. But for somebody to question my character like that, it is BS. And I've never done that. If you'll remember, in 2023, there was an article written on Sean accusing things. Who stood up in front of every one of you guys and defended him and his family and everything he's done here? And then we went to Kansas City and we won that game. And I went down to Jeff Missouri and said, give me a game ball. I'm going to show everyone that this team has his back. I've done nothing but have everyone's back. And so for someone to question my character, my integrity, that's where I draw the line.
Terry, with all,
feeling
why
it
did
there.
you find it important to speak out today? You've not been to a lot of press. You've been to a lot of press conferences, but not taking questions. Why did you feel it important today to answer questions and to show, you know, what behind the scenes, what you felt was an important decision here?
Is that John Walrow asking that question?
Not sure.
Okay.
Well, a long duration of why I wasn't in front of the media was Kim's health situation. Very traumatic. But I felt that, you know, this is a big move. You know, Sean McDermott is well respected. He's a great coach. And I just, you know, this is important for people to hear what I have to say. But don't take my lack of appearance. It was all personal.
Brandon, you want to talk about when someone is relieved of their duties, obviously there's some sort of disconnection. Where do you feel that strain lie, and how does that affect the locker room culture going forward?
Well, it doesn't mean there's a disconnect. We're graded on success, failures in these jobs, all of us. And Terry made that decision, the proverbial, as he explained, wall. It had nothing to do with disconnect or discord, anything like that. It was, he felt that this team needed a different voice after what he witnessed and was a part of in the locker room after the Denver game.
Pause it right
you
there.
mentioned the conversation with Josh after the
Pause
fact,
it.
after your.
I will say, and I didn't speculate prior to this. I know people were asking me if I did think this way, and I said I don't know, and I don't have any info to speculate that I do know, or I won't even speculate on it. But there were questions asked to me as to whether or not this was a move made by Beane. I don't know how you could walk away from this presser thinking that Beane was a part in this firing. My takeaway from this, and I don't think he would say that right in front of Terry, if not. He flat out just said basically this was Terry's decision. And the more I'm watching this, is that not your takeaway? This felt like a Terry Pegula decision. This felt like a Terry Pegula decision exclusively. And this is why it doesn't change the fact to me that I thought, or it doesn't change my mindset that I am still pretty perplexed that Brandon Beane wound up being elevated in his role while Sean McDermott was fired. It doesn't change my opinion on that. But I never questioned the character of Brandon Beane, nor did I question whether or not he played some sinister part in getting McDermott fired. And the more I'm watching this, the more I'm starting to see that I feel like Beane seems pretty disheveled over this going down the way that it has. Are you getting the same sentiment as I?
I am a little bit. However, I'm still skeptical because I don't think this was just an impulse thing. I think this is something that's been brewing. I'm going to stand on that. I think it's something that's been brewing for a while. And I have a feeling that Beane has been hearing Pegula just say, I'm going to fire him. I'm going to fire him. I'm emotional. You know how I am. I'm just going to do it. And Beane was probably like, just relax. We're in the season. This is how it all plays out. This is now the third. And he's been hearing, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. This is me speculating, by the way. I'm going to do it. I'm going to fire him. This is enough. 9 years, that's enough. Yeah, okay, let's just do it. And all of a sudden, he did it. So Beane was probably like, oh, okay. So you did that. Yes, I did. I looked at the locker room. I've had enough. The minute I saw Josh the way he was and wasn't answering me, I knew it was a wrap. We're done. So let's get this thing going. We're going to put the press out, and we're going to start looking for coaches. And this guy, and by the way, you're president right now. You're going to be the president, and you're going to be searching for the new head coach. I could probably see him as impulsive as he was, ready to go off. And this is just me speculating here, folks. It's just, I'm just putting it out there. So Beane not knowing, I could totally see it. I'm sure he heard it along the way, but didn't think he was going to do it. And he did it. So he's like, oh, it's like that person saying, I'm going to take that job in San Francisco. No, you're not. I'm going to take it. Oh, please. All of a sudden, I'm taking it. I'm leaving. When? Tomorrow. What? Okay. So I don't know. Let's say it was your roommate. So I'm taking over the lease. Yeah, you're taking over the lease. And you're going to have to get a new roommate. Go. That's what it feels like.
The thing is that I think this is what happened. With the year that Beane had, which was not a good one, when you then couple that with a McDermott firing and a Beane promotion, I think the public looks at that and says, how could Beane not have had something to do with this if he winds up coming out so successfully in this, while McDermott ends up walking away bearing all the burden? Where now that you watch this, I don't think Beane had much to do with any of this at all. And I think what sucks for him is that
he's getting slandered.
It had nothing to do with what it does not change in my mind, it does not change my opinion that I think that he still should have been considered having the same fate as McDermott did. It does not change my opinion. I think he had just as much to do with this as McDermott did. But with that said, I think the takeaway here is that he was promoted, McDermott was fired. He's then getting all of the repercussions of that, even though I don't think he had anything to do with either of it.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with that. I think it was put on him. You're the president, and by the way, I don't know much about football, so you're going to be the president. Every team has one of these guys. You do it. You do the search. You do all that stuff. You're on. Okay? And let me know when you find that coach, and I'll jump in. I think he was just put on the spot, and he's like, okay. Because could you imagine if he was so impulsive that he got rid of both? This is a whole restart. This is a whole rebuild. That would suck to rebuild with now finding a new. Who's going to help Pegula that doesn't know diddly squat find a new GM and head coach? Boy.
Well, that's the other thing too. When you're in Pegula's standpoint, I guess it is just easier to fire a head coach than it is a GM.
1,000%.
I mean that. But the thing with Beane is, and he's talking about going home to his wife and stuff, like, as much as I think it should have been, if you're going to clean house at this point, you should have cleaned the house. If you're not going to, I don't think what was factored into this is how much of the burden that Beane's going to bear now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But you know what? That's just what it is. You got to do what you got to do. You got to do what you got to do. You're the president now, boy. Prezi, you're the president.
Your decision. I understand your desire to keep that private, but is the starting quarterback on board with this decision?
The starting quarterback will be part of the team to help select a new coach. He's going to be working with us, and anything else, his feelings, I want to keep that private. I don't want this in Josh's head. This was my decision. And I know I didn't answer your question, but I did, I hope, in a roundabout way. It's, his personal opinion, I keep personal.
All right. What do you think?
I don't think
Josh finds out.
I don't think Josh had anything to do with it either.
No, I'm not saying that Josh have anything to do with it, but what do you think Josh's reaction to it was? He probably did it and then said, by the way, Sean is out. How do you think Josh is reacting to this? Because they clearly had a conversation, but he says, I want to keep it private. What can you speculate? What do you think that conversation was like?
Yeah, so my initial take on that is that Josh has to be feeling a lot of guilt, I would imagine, which sucks.
Yeah, I agree.
He's coming off of that loss where he knows he played a part in this season ending. He bared the burden at the presser saying, I let my teammates down. You and I argued to the nth degree that he didn't. But knowing him, I feel like he now looks at this and says, not only did I let my team down, but now as a result of that loss, my coach, the only coach I've ever had in Buffalo, is now gone. And I got to tell you, I feel for 17 today because I got to imagine that this is a real heavy burden that he's carrying right now. This is the only coach Josh Allen has had in Buffalo. And after that game, where if just one of these plays go a different way, we were not even having this discussion. I'm guessing he's as sick as, granted, he's probably still as sick as possibly can be after that game. We know how much these losses weigh on him. To add this on top of it, Rico, I got a feeling he's as banged up as he's ever been right now.
You know what would give me solace in this is that once the news broke, franchise quarterback drives over to head coach's house and they have a powwow and sit down.
A nice dinner.
And a nice dinner. I really hope that did take place. And I think that they're close enough and probably not just Josh. Some of the key players probably went over there and just kind of like, man, we're so sorry, coach. Because that's what I would be like. I'm so sorry, coach. Like, I feel like I let you down. And coach is like, yo, this is the business. I didn't get the job done, et cetera, et cetera. But Josh having something to do with it, no. But I really hope that he went, as soon as he heard the news, beeline right to, they all live in the same area, I'm sure. Beeline right to coach's house and be like, dude, my bad. And I'm sure they had a little powwow, but it's the nature of the business. It's the nature of the business. Now, what it does to Josh going forward, that will be something to watch. That's a whole other ball game, what it does to Josh going forward. But I'm looking forward to seeing that.
Have you get a chance to address players before this news broke? And what is the general assessment of how you feel the roster feels about this decision?
What was it? Did you say?
Did either of you have a chance to address players before the news broke?
No, we had an exit team meeting like we do every season the day after. So that was Sunday. Terry's decision came on Monday, or that's when we were informed of his decision. So the players had already left.
So they first found out possibly through
the media. Yeah.
Can you walk us through the decision to claim Darius Slay, the fallout from that? Obviously, it was a roster move that impacted your depth. And
yeah, that sucks.
Yeah, we're always, Sean and I always talked about areas of concern where we're deeper as the season goes along. You obviously face injuries, and at that point in the season, Dorian Strong was out. Maxwell had come back, but we're still kind of working him in there. And you're going, all right, if Trey or CB or one of those guys goes down, the next guy is Jamarcus. We think Darius Slay, with his history, his pedigree, would be a good guy. We're trending towards the playoffs here. And so we talked about it. And Sean and his coaches watched him. We talked about, the pros and cons to doing it. And we ultimately decided to do it. And I always remind the coaches, you have, hey, hopefully we can get Jamarcus back on practice squad, which we had hoped that we could. But anytime you release a player, you have to assume one of 31 can claim him. Now, when we claimed Darius Slay, we had no idea that he had the intent to only play for one team. And when the way the rules work, listen, I would have loved when I found that out to push him back and say, all right, we're unaware of that. Give us Jamarcus back so that we don't lose both. But that's not the way the rules work. And so Houston put a claim in, and we decided once we learned about what Darius' situation was to bring in Darnell Savage, who was released a couple days later. And we ended up needing safety depth. So, you know, Jamarcus, we love him and didn't want him to go, but he had also been inactive for a number of games. You're just trying to constantly, incrementally look for pieces on your roster. A very weird thing that happened, but that was not done rogue, let's just say.
Going all the way back to Terry's comment about Keon Coleman, it sounded like maybe that was a pick that you were talked into, if you will. Going forward, there's going to be a new relationship with the head coach. Is there going to be a little more autonomy when it comes to drafting on your part?
Josh, like I believe in collaboration. I do. And I want to find in our personnel staff, it's not just me, we want to understand. So when we get a new head coach in here and, you know, we'll talk about schemes and is anything changing on offense, defense, how that'll work. And we'll then look at the roster together and see, did some of these players work better in this scheme or that scheme? But to answer your question, I think the best, healthiest way to find players is that we're as close to lockstep as you can, not me only signing or taking players that the coaches think work or only what the personnel guys think. It's consensus building. And I've been around that a number of years and have seen it successful. Sometime, but a decision has to be made. And at the end of the day, I still own the decision, right or wrong, of Keon Coleman. Keon has been here 2 years. He's a young guy. I still believe in him.
Good.
Okay. There are other decisions that have been made that maybe coaches weren't as high on. You're never always going to be, we always see the player as coaches or personnel, even personnel guys. Sometimes I'm arguing with a scout or vice versa, and they convince me that they have it in the right order and I don't. And I think if you asked our college scouts or our pro scouts, we get into, as Terry said, we get into some healthy, heated debates. He sits in a good number of our draft meetings, in some in February, but all of them in April. And that's how you make the best decisions. But we're not going to bat 1,000. We know that. And each one that we miss, believe me, I beat myself up on and look back and trace. It's how did we come to the consensus of this player? What was the risk? Did we think this would happen, whether it was something on the field or off the field? But the short answer, Josh, is we're going to collaborate. We're going to work together and try to find the best players that work for how this new coach wants to do things.
Will that new coach report to you directly, and how will that operate?
It'll be very similar. At the end of the day, we're going to work together. It's a marriage, the same as Sean and I. And like I said, you have to make a decision at some point. If, you know, and sometimes it'll go and I'll lean to their way, and sometimes I'll be like,
makes sense.
My gut tells me I want to stick with how I see it. But we'll work together. It's nothing's really going to change from that standpoint.
You mentioned that.
So pretty much, I mean, listen, we pretty much got the gist of that presser. There wasn't much any huge questions after that. It was just kind of like confirming questions and so on and so forth. So that being said, I know you guys had a boatload of questions, so we're gonna get into our super chats and let y'all get out of here. So we're gonna start with Money Mitch coming through. Led Robster, what's up, man? He goes, I was ready for change, but never saw a world where Beane stayed, but McDermott was canned. Show some gratitude and professionalism to the guy who changed the culture. Further, there's no way Keon stays here now. He's still on the team, Pegula. BF best in the history. Big shout out to our guy Led Roster with a huge super chat.
Shout out, Money Mitch.
We appreciate you guys. You know that.
Seriously, thank you, Mitch. Seriously, my God.
What's that, buddy?
I just said, seriously, Mitch, thanks a lot, brother, for all year long. Just been amazing.
Mitch has been that dude, man. And to say, and listen, he pretty much is echoing your sentiments. You could have gave McDermott a little more love than you gave him.
Once again, like when I say that, I know people are like, oh, like, happy farewell to McDermott. Happy farewell to McDermott. Happy farewell to you. Blow out the candles, McDermott. Here's your cake. We baked you goodbye. And we built you a statue. And here's a gift card to Amazon, $500 on the way out. You know, we wanted to say thanks. Let's throw you a little party. Like, no, I just figured there'd be a little bit more of a little bit more sincerity on the way out is all.
True. No,
because it wasn't this 3-year stint of mediocrity. It was 9 years of really damn good football. You know what? Maybe I'm a little skewed. God forbid. Because I spent 20 years watching this team fight for a 7-9 record. So yeah, maybe I'm a little bit skewed.
Yeah.
You know, but Sean McDermott really flipped what was the Buffalo Bills in my lifetime. And yes, I have a lot of respect and admiration for the guy. Not admiral, but admiration for the guy. And I will always miss McDermott. I will always respect McDermott. I wish nothing for the best for Sean McDermott.
I echo the exact same thing my man Bot said it, because we've been fans of McDermott. And there's something about when a coach understands the city, the fans, what it means for this team to win. He did all the right things, man. Meeting with the elders, right? Jim Kelly, and he sat with them and he found out what made you guys successful. Like, he went above and beyond, right? What most coaches do when they go to a franchise. This guy really put himself in the community to really get what it means, what football means, what this professional team means to Buffalo. And then he says, all right, I get it. Let me get to work. And he really wanted to bring a Super Bowl to Buffalo. And it really sucks that he got let go. That's why we feel the way we feel. And the way it is what it is.
Tor's saying, no, Josh Allen flipped it. Tor.
What?
No kidding. That Josh Allen flipped the Bills. Like, thanks for telling me, brother. I had no clue. Like, I'm just realizing this now, that Josh Allen really played a hell of a part in flipping it. My whole point is, I don't know if the Josh Allen era would have been the same if Mike Mularkey was the coach or if Rex Ryan was the coach. I can't help but think it would have been a little bit different. Let me give you an example. Can I give you an example? Nick Sirianni has taken the Eagles to 2 Super Bowls and won one of them. Is anybody pounding the table for how great the Philadelphia Eagles culture is? Or are they constantly being talked about as a team where you're like, these guys are winning because of the talent, and they're winning in spite of what the culture is. What McDermott and Beane did to this team in conjunction with the addition of Josh Allen should be commended. And it's the reason why the Bills have gone from a team. I'll give you the best example. My father-in-law, because he's not he doesn't watch football, really. So he was under the impression that the Bills have always been this national team,
treasure,
this team that everyone knew, this notable team that, you could walk down the street in any town, anywhere in the country, and you could see a Josh Allen jersey. And I remember telling him, I go, what if I told you 10 years ago, me seeing a Bills jersey outside of the state of New York would be the equivalent of seeing a unicorn? Okay. You'd have a better chance, actually, of finding a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow than that. It's the additions of Josh Allen, McDermott, and Beane at the same time, and you're now watching that era come to an end. And it's sad, and it's a lot, and it sucks. And that's just why, I think that the guy did an incredible job, and you nailed it, Rico. It was beyond just the coaching. The guy represented Buffalo as well as you could possibly want a coach to do.
How many coaches do you know in the NFL that do that? I'd be curious. I'd be hard pressed to find out someone that went and learned. Like, you see Mike, who's the coach in Green Bay that just got an extension? LaFleur?
Matt LaFleur.
Matt LaFleur. Did LaFleur go and try to get to know Wisconsin and really know the cheeseheads? And maybe he did. Doubtful. Not the way McDermott did it.
Listen, I can't speak for anyone, but I watched this guy's career evolve for 9 years, and I really never heard a bad thing about the guy. So.
Bingo. Before Pierre walked out the chat, he says, the issue may have been the hierarchy. hiring McDermott first, then giving the powers that GMs normally have, then hiring a GM after the fact may have caused issues. It's on you now, Brandon Beane. And that was a little weird at first because it was weird, right? Don't forget, Whaley was given the job by Buddy Nix, and then he takes over, and then that tenure happens, and then Whaley moves on from Rex Ryan, fired by Pegula, and the whole I wasn't privy, it totally makes sense. Everybody talking about, oh, they were making fun of Doug Whaley when he's like, oh, I wasn't privy. He literally wasn't privy because Brandon Beane wasn't privy until he was told. By the way, I fired the coach. So Doug Whaley wasn't privy to the situation, and they peppered him. And then now you're in charge of finding the next head coach. He finds McDermott. McDermott's like, welcome, I'm here. They fire Whaley. Here comes, his boy, Brandon Beane. So like the everything was in place prior to. So very fascinating how these events have turned out right now. So maybe it was a hierarchy issue. Never know. Big shout out to Extra Hammer. Good. Listen, I want to ring my bell, but it's a little late. But you know what I mean? We're gonna give you some love. We're gonna give you some love. Big shout out to my man Extra Hammer. What a name that is, huh? How about that? Let's go back and show some love to Led Robster. Comes in and says, man, the delusion is that the criteria is a double standard. The seeding and not making a Super Bowl is damnation for McDermott, but the same seeding is praiseworthy for Beane. Either they both suck or they're both great. Come on. Listen.
And I don't know how many more times I can say it. I think this is where my confusion has struggled, where it just seems like in the same situation, one guy comes out on top, the other guy gets completely buried. And that's not to say, once again, how much I loved McDermott to the point where people literally hate me for it. They hate me for it that I love McDermott. The amount I've praised Beane on here. And the thing is I'm not even dumping on Beane. I'm more confused at the fact that McDermott got all the dump and Brandon Beane did not. But when you watch that press conference, it seems as though Brandon Beane is just as perplexed as everybody else.
I'll say this though, the amount of that's why I love social media, because it can flip like this. It can be leaning one way one day and then they lean over. I mean, the amount of pitchforks I saw for Beane, he's a snake, he's a this, he's a that. And I was like, I don't know. There's a little more to this. Like, he can't be the bad guy. I don't know if he is. I don't think he is. And me watching this presser makes me understand that he's not necessarily like a snake that everybody's calling him, right? I think he was taken aback by this whole abrupt firing, and he's adjusting like everyone else, but he's got to adjust a little faster, and he's got to do it promptly because he's got a big job to do. So he doesn't have time to grieve. I got stuff to do. So that's the way I'm looking at it with Mr. Brandon Beane. All right, my man, Lord of the Rings, Bengals fan comes in. You know who would be perfect in Buffalo? Zach Taylor. We'll give him to you for free. No take backsies. Man, I thought you guys liked Zach Taylor. I was surprised the Bengals didn't decide to move on from Zach Taylor.
Here's an interesting one for you. Since 2022, the AFC, every single team in the AFC has a new coach since the coach they had in 2022, but two teams. Andy Reid and the Kansas City Chiefs, Zach Taylor and the Cincinnati Bengals. All 14 other teams have a new coach.
No kidding, huh? Ain't that something? And
the reason we just got that chat is because Bengals fans cannot believe of all the three teams that fired their coach in the AFC North,
Zach Taylor still
the lone that didn't was the Bengals.
Fluffy Panda, what a fluff. He goes, Pegula turned over full control of the Sabres to Jarmo, and Sabres are playing great. Bills are now suffering due to Pegula being in control. I don't know who Jarmo is, but I guess who Jarmo is he's holding it down, and Sabres are playing good ball. So the fact that the control is going over to Jarmo, maybe this new control going over to Brandon Beane in full control is a good thing. So maybe he's going to have both franchises doing good things. I guess we're going to.
And that's the thing. We can only judge this decision. We can't even judge this decision now. The only way we can judge this decision is a couple of years down the line. It's the only way we'll be able to tell how this ends up working out.
No doubt. What do we got? Thomas. What up, Thomas? We need help, Josh. Tells me offensive coach of the we need help, Josh. Tells me offensive coach and offense roster overhaul 100. Can you decipher that?
who need to help Josh tells me offensive coach. He's thinking that they need to hire an offensive coach and they need to address
Overhaul
the
the
offensive roster in the offseason heavily.
Let me
And
ask you a question.
I think we
Do you
get
find
both
our
of those.
roster bad? Do we have a bad roster in your opinion?
Well, I think the primary issue has been for a while. It is the injuries that this team suffers.
It is
year
the
in and
injuries
year out.
for sure.
Now, in terms of roster, this is where I struggle. You had a top offensive line. You had the rushing leader. You have an MVP at quarterback.
Yep.
This wide receiver core was abysmally poor, though.
It wasn't great.
And so I think you will see this offseason, you will never see a larger addressment at one particular positional group than you will see the Bills address the
100%.
wide receiver position this offseason.
Yep.
You think Brandon Beane, you just saw what Brandon Beane looked like at that presser. If you don't think he's going in guns blazing after a wide receiver this offseason, including what should be the best available to acquire on another team right now, not just the draft, that's what's happening.
Yep. I think he's going to go ham. I think Brandon Beane is going to attack free agency so hard that he's going to easily bring everybody back on his side, and we're going to be calling him Big Baller Beane again. But he's got a big task ahead.
And look, I couldn't be rooting for anything more. I couldn't be rooting for anything more than to look back and say, wow, like what a job they did to overcome this part of this era.
Yep.
I mean, seriously, I hope to God it works, and I'm rooting like hell for it.
We got my man Roger. Roger says, as my wife said today, that McDermott should go to Baltimore and she hopes they win the Super Bowl. Golly, Roger's wife. The Bills should now wait one more year. Man, Roger comes back. He goes, as my wife said today, she hopes McDermott goes to Baltimore. Did you duplicate, my man? The Bills need to wait one more year. Secondly, he says, Beane should have been let go first. And that was a sentiment from a lot of people. But here's my question to you, Roger, if you're still watching. Should Beane, now that you've seen the presser, do you still agree with Beane should have released before McDermott? Do you agree? Now that you've seen the presser, has the press conference changed your mind? Question for you if you're still in the chat. All right, my man Joe R. Joe says all they had to do was just tell Sean that he had to hand in his resignation like Tomlin. Definitely don't let Terry speak. But they did Keon dirty. I wonder what his teammates feel about that. That's a question for you, man. You're Keon Coleman, or you're.
Is your mic all right, by the way? I think, did you bump into something?
Oh, I may have. Check. 1 2 1 2.
There you go.
Better.
Yeah.
Keon Coleman, how he got the raw end of the stick. So what takes place now? Do you feel like I have to move him, or listen? I believe in you. I still believe in you. You can peg it as coach didn't believe in you, but I did. How are you supposed to be? How are his teammates feeling about this whole like being thrown under the bus? I feel bad for the guy. The guy's only like 21 or 22 years old, man. Come on now.
Man, the Keon situation is interesting because you healthy scratch him numerous times. There has been no noticeable increase in production when he was out there. And now this, I mean, look, I don't care what he's done for the team. He was singled out in one of the biggest press conferences in Bills history multiple times.
Yeah, that's tough.
That is about as rough as it gets. I don't know what you do. The interesting part to me, Rico, is he's basically free. I mean, you're going into year 3. One, who's going to really want to trade for him? And if they do, what are you going to get? I don't see why there's any harm in trying to still get the most out of him possible. But
same.
You're going to have
I'm not ready to move on from him.
You got some bridges to repair there, though. Yeah. I mean, I know he did his part. Believe me, he earned those scratches. He earned them.
Did.
But today, this whole thing, it was one thing to bring up Coleman in the presser, but for Pegula to then take the mic and basically say it was a organizational, it was a coaching staff failure, essentially. That's tough for anybody to hear.
I agree. And I'll say this. The silver lining in this is the new coach that comes in finds a way to utilize his skill set properly. And and obviously would have to move on from, if it's Joe Brady that ends up being the head coach, then you already know what time it is. But if a new coach, the new coach will find ways to try to incorporate him and then go from there. Because I still think he's a talent.
I am also very interested to see where McDermott lands and how that ends up going as well.
Cleveland would be an ideal spot for McDermott. Can you imagine him in that defense with
that
Miles
D?
Garrett? That defense, and then you have a quarterback that can play. You know what I'm saying? And McDermott loves to run the football. He'll find a good running back. I mean, they have a good running back in what's that rookie's name that ran today? That ran this year. I can't remember his name.
Samson?
No, the other guy, not Samson. He's not coming to me right now.
Judkins.
Judkins is a damn good back. So you got a running back. You have a quarterback that is a pocket quarterback that will throw the football, bolster that receiver room. Ironic, right? And you have a contender. You have a contender if Cleveland decides to go there. What's AO Gem saying? Am I saying that?
No, this is actually Aoife, who helped me pronounce the name the other day, which I'm glad because I'm terrible with these names sometimes.
Aoife Gem. What's up, Aoife? What's Aoife saying?
Aoife saying, hey, y'all, in my opinion, they will get to it. They are humans. They make mistakes. They will own it. And the mistakes are ruining their lives too. And that's the thing. I think you could see it. I mean, you could see it on Beane today. I mean, you think he wanted to be sitting there going through this today?
Bingo.
Hell no.
Heck no. What you saying again? She came back. Double up.
Y'all opinions are fair and valid, but the past is gone. We need to look forward for our mental health. Who are we going to hire? And that, Aoife, believe me, we got a whole off season here. Well, actually, I don't know if I can say whole off season here, but we got plenty of time here to now dissect what is going to happen with that vacancy, which is going to be one of the, I mean, this, ladies and gentlemen, this has now just turned into the most intriguing and important Bills offseason, perhaps of my lifetime.
Do you think that all this fee? I thought this was going to deter people from coming to Buffalo. I don't think it will. In terms of like players, I thought about it at first, but I was like, nah, they won't. They want to play and they want to win, and you're going to win with Josh Allen. And when I saw Brandon Cooks shed tears about, hey man, this guy cares, and this team, we really wanted it, bro. They're going to want to play with Josh Allen no matter what. But your thoughts on Josh? Hold on a second. What was the question that came in earlier? Hold on, let me just read the super chat real quick before I get there. Joe R comes in and says, I do recall saying I believe Kim ran the team and the Sabres. I don't know anything about that with Kim and Terry. I don't know. They both claimed to run the thing together. I don't know who did what. Ever since she has been out of the picture, things have gone downhill. I don't believe Terry knows what he's doing. I mean, I don't know how involved one was without the other. Maybe they did it together, and when she fell ill, they said, yo, Brandon Beane, you go and do that, which now has prompted Brandon Beane to be president because he probably had to put a lot on his plate while Pegula was away. So who knows how that dynamic plays out. But I don't know. That's great. Solid question.
With these ownerships, it's interesting. If I'm a billionaire, I can buy a Ferrari. It doesn't mean I'm a mechanic and I know how to fix the thing if it goes south. You know what I mean? So when you own these teams, this is why I got to be honest with Pegula and the Bills. This is why today was rare. You don't really hear a whole lot from Terry. I prefer my ownership to be that way. I mean, what would you rather have? Hearing from Pegula in the biggest moments of his tenure as owner, like today, or would you rather it be Jerry Jones, where after every waking second something happens, he's got to get behind a microphone? I'd much rather have it be what the Pegulas are doing.
Yeah, because you don't really hear from the Pegulas at all, and I kind of liked it. They don't meddle. They don't get into the affairs. My man D's Good Green Room says, yo, come on, Rico, get Carl to ask those questions. Listen, man, Carl was in the room. Maybe Carl had some questions, but by the time he was ready to ask the question, somebody already asked it. I don't know. But I'm sure Carl will get in the room next time when when Brandon Beane is on his own. I'm sure Carl will jump in and ask some questions then. Joe comes back in and says, yo, I honestly believe the Bills was Kim's team. Terry was supposed to be the background as well for the Sabres, but when she fell ill, numbnuts is effing things up. I mean, that's a fair assessment too. Maybe it was. I'll take the Sabres. You can have the Bills. He's got that much money, so he's like, you can do this. That'll be your project, that your baby, and I'll come in here and there. Who knows, man? That's not a bad assessment. Not a bad assessment. Carlo, kind of ironic and contradicting, blaming coaching staff for the Keon pick, yet you're interviewing the OC who schemes things up for the head coach.
See, I just, I did not like that for a multitude of reasons. Why? Like the way Beane answered it after Pegula stepped in was fine. This whole grabbing the mic and pinning blame elsewhere, that never is going to look right, even if it's the truth.
Yeah.
I mean, this is why, how many times have I been on here praising guys for saying the right thing in the right moment? The wrong thing to do is to pin blame, because even if it is the truth, all it's going to do is further speculation. All it's going to do is create animosity. It's going to add more questions. I just think that was, and then plus you're also using one singular player. There's a reason why everyone watched that press conference and walked away saying it was a disaster, and that was one of the major reasons as to why.
No, I get it. Jeff Kinger, what up, King?
The Kingster.
Beane's worried about hanging on to his job, so let's cut through the shit. I mean, listen, I think he's got some security now. I don't think he's worried about anything at this moment. But the pressure's still on because he's still got a task to do. Although he's been promoted, and I think the promotion wasn't necessarily anything vindictive or anything. I think it was just like, yo, I don't got time to do all this shit. So you're the president, you're the GM, find the coach, do all that shit. I got too much money to be hanging out and stressing out about that. That's why I'm paying you. So go do that. Oh, by the way, pressure's on as well. Make sure it's a damn good coach that you hire. So I think there's going to be a lot of pressure on Beane. Does he worry about losing his job? Not anytime soon. Not anytime soon. He's at least bought himself 3 years. Would you agree?
I think, yeah, he's bought himself however long this next head coach lasts for. Should this guy turn into the next, if he ends up being the next Vince Lombardi, well, then Brandon Beane will retire as the GM of the Buffalo Bills.
Oh, yeah.
But, once again, after watching the presser, there was a lot of speculation that Beane did X, Y, and Z to keep the gig. I think the more you're watching it, I think it just felt like this was a solo move by Terry Pegula, in which he then looked to Beane to now pick up the pieces remaining. That's how I kind of saw it.
I get that part. By the way, we got 3,500 people watching right now, and that's actually super dope, man. Y'all been like consecutively, and it's been climbing. So big shout out to everybody on YouTube, on X watching us, and on all these other on Twitch. Yo, appreciate you guys. Much love, man. Here we go. Mr. Will B 78. What's up, my G? Welcome to the squad, baby. Appreciate the support. Much love to you. And man, listen, we can't be more happy when we have people that support us and want to support us. That's super dope. Signified Knows, our buddy, says, yo, I'm so glad you non-Sabres fans are getting the full Terry Pegula experience. I mean, if Sabres fans are dealing with this all the time, I don't blame you for being all stressed out. So this is we're not familiar with this in this territory. Not my type of territory. I don't like it. Hopefully we're not in this territory for very long, and we're raising the Lombardi sometime soon. Hopefully before we shut these eyes. Our guy Thomas P comes in and says, hey, I'm still taking Beane's side, man. Last draft screams McDermott. I mean, it was all defense. So yeah, all over it. And it's a large reason we aren't playing Sunday because of how much non-factor those rookies were, including Walker. What?
Excluding Walker.
Oh, excluding. I thought including. I was like, what? Walker's been freaking fantastic. I don't know, man. The biggest disappointment was our third rounder. Buddy with the alopecia.
Landon Jackson. And also, like, our hurt Max Harrison really hurt in that Broncos game as well.
Yeah.
When you were losing corners and you were losing safeties.
We were just unfortunate, man. Unfortunate. We're unfortunate.
Also, as much as the defensive-oriented draft screamed McDermott, we can't revisionist history, and I know we're all guilty of it.
Yeah.
Everybody went into last year's draft saying we have got to load up on D. The Bills scored 29 points against the Chiefs and lost, and allowed the Chiefs to score
hindsight, right?
Yeah, the Chiefs hadn't scored more than 30 all year, and they scored 32 against the Bills. I don't think you can pin all the blame on McDermott for going all in on D in that draft, when I'm pretty damn sure the vast majority of us were wanting them to go all in on D. I think where you can pin the blame on Beane, though, was the lack of additions to the wide receiver room, not only in the draft, but of course in free agency. I think they're two different things, and I think you can look at the blame on both ends there.
No doubt. I'm actually really looking forward to Deion Walker next year, man. Buddy, this guy's a G.
No doubt.
Ryan Giggs comes in and says, I need to know what makes both of you guys think McDermott's firing was wrong. And could he have done better? 9 years of nothing. I had enough. I think I can answer for both of us in this case is we don't think the firing was wrong. Like, at least I'll speak for both of us, or I'll speak for myself. We don't think the firing was wrong. It's just the aftermath of the firing on, okay, you did what you had to do because you felt this was the right move. Fine. But the exit wasn't nice. It wasn't professional for someone that's put in all those years, blood, sweat, and tears, trying to win this thing, literal tears and all that good stuff, to have him send off like he's just some assistant coach, right? That's what it felt like. So
Yeah.
we understand it. This is the nature of the business. 9 years, no Super Bowl, lots of playoff success, but we can't get over the hump. Change had to be made. I get it. We get it. What do you got?
My biggest thing to add here, and this is what I think is the unfortunate thing about McDermott's exit here, is what you're saying, Ryan, and I get it. 9 years of nothing. It could not have been more of the opposite. If you think this was 9 years of nothing, I just don't know what you were watching. This was 9 years of a team that was one of the best in the entire sport. This was one of the best teams in all of sports. The Buffalo Bills were one of the best organizations, not only on the field, but off the field in all of sports during this 9-year run. In terms of Super Bowls, yes, it was nothing. But in terms of completely reinventing what was one of the most mediocre franchises in all of sports, McDermott played a heavy hand in that. And you saw the players' response to it. You're seeing the fan base response to it. It was certainly not 9 years of nothing. If anything, it was 9 years of some pretty damn good coaching. It was 9 years I won't soon forget.
Heck yeah. No, you're not wrong about that, brother. Not wrong at all. Actually, I got my guy, Jeff King, comes back in and says, yo, Steve Biscotti, owner of the Ravens, Darth Vader of Star Wars. Terry Pegula, owner of the Bills, Dark Helmet from Spaceballs. Yo, Jeff King's a fool. Who's that little actor from Honey, I Shrunk the Kids? You guys can help me out. Bot's gonna be he's too young for the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Are you familiar with Honey, I Shrunk the Kids?
Vaguely. That was like right when I was coming up.
Good Lord. You need to go watch that. Those are classics. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, the little guy from Spaceballs. That's actually pretty funny. I'm sure somebody in the chat will let me know. All right. You just got me a blast from the past. Our go Is it Efi?
Ifa.
Ifa. What's up, Ifa? Ifa says, yes, bot. Yes. She didn't put enough S's on the end of that yes, but she got to do that for next time. Frank Giroir. I think that's a French name. Frank Giroir. What's up, Frank? Thank you for becoming a member, Frank Giroir. I hope I'm pronouncing your last name properly. I got to put some respect on you. Appreciate you, my guy. Mr. Walter, the skeptic himself. He says he's out on the Bills, by the way. I don't believe him, but he says he is. He says, let me ask, guys, do you think the conference helped or hurt the image of Allen in this whole thing?
The conference? Oh, my God.
Press conference.
Oh, I thought you meant the AFC. I would say it significantly hurt. If they were in the NFC, I think this would have looked a lot different. The Bills would have made a Super Bowl by now if they were in the NFC.
Is he talking about the conference or the press conference? Hold on.
I think he's talking about the press conference. Yeah, but I was thinking
the image. Yeah, the press conference. No, I don't think this hurt the image of Josh at all, because this guy, not at all. I that's all I'm going to add to it. I mean, how could it have?
I don't think it does. I don't think it looks like anything on Allen. I don't think.
No, nothing at all. This is all ownership.
Yeah,
ownership, not the player. Nothing to do with the player. At least that's our opinion here. Don Callie says the presser was a dumpster fire. It wasn't great initially watching it. I mean, maybe it I guess it took the sting away the second time we went through it. But the first watching it, I came away with it saying, golly, if he just be quiet and let Brandon Beane talk, we're fine. I think he interjected way too many times, and the Keon Coleman was the one that put it over the edge. It's like, you didn't have to do that.
There were dumpster fire moments, and I also think that there were singular sound bites that were further elaborated on later on.
Yeah.
Should have been all said at once. Like in the beginning, when Pegula said, I fired him after Saturday's loss.
Yeah.
If you were to have just added, at the time, in culmination with all the playoff losses and failures, like he did go on later to say, I think it makes a lot more sense. I do think collectively, no, it was not a great press conference. I'm not sitting here and saying it was great. But I do think Brandon Beane handled himself extremely well in that press conference.
No, you're not wrong with that. There's no use in pointing fingers. We have to look forward. The future is the only thing that can change. Love you guys. What is DGB?
Do good, be good. God bless. Go Bills. How about I got that in the first track?
Wow, you're one of those guys that can just fix the. I can give you a whole bunch of letters. And there's actually a black version of that where they say, "Yo, what does this mean?" And I'm able to pick those out right off the rap. So this was.
Is that like I've seen those ones too? Yeah, those are funny. Yeah, but you got it. Unfortunately, you got to be like chronically online to understand those. But sometimes I'm like, yeah, I get it.
So true. Seasoned beast, our guy. Honest question: if some plays are called differently, do you see Sean fired if we are still in the playoffs? Pegula overreacted. Hire Sean back. Not happening. That ship is sailed,
guys. If they hired Sean again by this time next week, I mean,
dumpster fire. Understatement.
No, I think it would be one of the most unbelievable moments in the history.
He would never come back. I don't think he'd do it. I'd say he'd say you didn't want me. I just don't think you would.
It's like Adam Schefter just tweets out "psych," and it's just a graphic of McDermott hired back as the head coach.
Could you imagine? That would exactly what it would be like. That'd be crazy. Ifa, confusion can be real, and McDermott can be the easy fire. I mean, call it what you want, Ifa. Call it what you want.
I think
what an interesting way of spelling her name. Go ahead. What were we gonna say?
I think the one thing you and I may have overlooked when we had thought that if there were one guy to go, it would be Beane. I think we factored in primarily how bad this past year was. I think one thing maybe you and I overlooked is that it is easier to replace a head coach than it is a GM. And I think that's what we overlooked.
There's no question. Because a GM, I mean, you got to find the right guy. And Brandon Beane, I mean, I like Brandon Beane from the start. I thought that was a great hire. And he's got two great assistant coaches underneath him. But we don't know too much about the two that we have. But the people that have been under, like, let's put it this way. Brandon Beane has more of a tree than Sean McDermott. Think about all the guys that Dan Morgan gone, Jay Shone, whatever it is, Joe Shane.
Joe Shane, yeah.
He's got a job right now, and he's got two guys that are in the making right now. So you got some. Led Robster, Michigan sucks. Congrats, Indiana, from this Bucks fan. That was a good game, by the way. I watched that, and I was like, Miami's quarterback's not clutch enough, man. He didn't make enough big enough plays to kind of get back in the game.
Dude, if he just went to the back pylon of the end zone instead of throwing that short, they might have won it. But that was a great game. Shout out to Indiana. Kurt Signetti, greatest turnaround in NCAA history. Unbelievable.
Buddy, undefeated season. You got to be kidding me. That's impressive. Super impressive. Josh, what are the chances we move on from Palmer, Curtis, and Keon together? If anyone stays, who's most likely to stay? I doubt they move on from Palmer because there's too much money invested in that unless they really think he's just terrible and they take on more dead cap, which I highly doubt they'll do. I think it's too expensive. Curtis is gone. Keon, I think, will stay on a rookie deal. You got to keep him. Like, I mean, it makes no sense to just move on from him. And I think they bring back Brandon Cooks. I think they may bring back Brandon Cooks and see how that takes shape. My man Jacob says, yo, so did Beane actually get a salary increase, or is the promotion just a change in my job duties? I'm sure the job duties requires him to have more money, so I'm sure he got paid more. That's just my feeling in this. Feeling Fiendish comes through and says, you know what? I like what's happening. I like the community that the Buffalo Fanatics are pulling together. I want in. And guess what? You're in, brother. I appreciate you. We appreciate you. Welcome to the squad. Love it. Love it. Love it. Last super chat of the night comes from Bullyfornia. And Bullyfornia says, I know the dust hasn't settled yet after McDermott's exit, but do any of these head coach prospects getting named excite you guys? That's a good question. I don't mind the Anthony Lynn one. Don't mind it. I'm intrigued by Davis Webb. I'm intrigued.
That's intriguing because it's a young hire. He is
yes. I like that. So, and I don't want an old coach. I'm so glad Mike McCarthy is taking. I think he got a job already, or he's interviewing for a job. I don't want an older coach. I want someone that is young enough, that's that's got the pulse of the young guys in the building and understands and has played the game, but he's never called you know what I'm saying, he's never called anything, but he's not there to call plays. Maybe he has an offensive coordinator in mind, right? And then he figures it out. I don't know, but that intrigues me. Anthony Lynn intrigues me. And Lou Anarumo intrigues me. The old defensive coordinator for the Bengals, which was recently with, who was he with recently? I can't remember who he was with recently. And he kind of intrigues me a little bit too.
Wasn't he Colts?
He was with the Colts. That's right. It was the Colts.
Yeah.
So, but it's kind of weird because you got fired or let go, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, but
So,
I need offense. I need offense this time around. That's what
yeah,
I
you want
need.
offense? Okay.
I want
I'm with you.
offense.
I'm with you. I rock with that. Oh, we got a couple more super chats coming through. My apologies. My man Led Robster says, "Yo, Rico, ask Bot if he likes Fruitios."
What's that?
So yesterday we on my show, I was making an analogy on the roster, and I was saying Beane is like, bro. I was doing my method acting, if you will, and I was like, Brandon's like, I'm giving you the freaking roster to do what you got to do. You're in charge of who starts. You're in charge of what you guys do. So don't blame me for I guess you getting fired or whatever the case is and the struggles. And then I mentioned something to the nature of like, Brandon Beane is like, bro, you want Fruit Loops? I can't give you Fruit Loops. You got to deal with Fruitios. They almost taste the same. And Brandon Beane's like, bro, I've been used to Fruit Loops and all you give me Fruitios, I can't do it. So because at the beginning of the tenure of the season, at the beginning when McDermott and these boys had Josh on a rookie deal, bro, we had guys coming in left, right, center. We had Emmanuel Sanders. We had big name guys coming through. You know what I'm saying? So McDermott was eating good. The minute we had to pay a few people, bro, we got to dial it back a little bit. So Fruit Loops are gone. Fruitios are in. So my man Bot he went to university. There was days where he didn't have no money. So he had to kind of do the ramen noodle thing. I'm sure you had some university days where you just didn't have it, boy. So sometimes that's the case. Sometimes that be the case. So Fruitios in. Randy Prokes. Rico, it was Rick Moranis. Yes. Yes, Randy. Rick Moranis in Spaceballs. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. And I Can't Stand Beane. Now Slick Politics. Court move. He doesn't like the corporation. Big Slick Politics. Politics court moves. Move, in my opinion. I've seen guys like this my whole career. I don't know, Randy. Maybe there's a misunderstanding somewhere. Is it a big corporation move? Sure, I guess. The guys at the top don't care about the little guys at the bottom. We know that's the way it works. But I think Brandon Beane does care. I mean, Pegula, on the other hand, billionaire, who knows how he feels. But Brandon Beane has a bit of a pulse too. I mean, let's keep it a buck here. The same way that we say McDermott was in the community building and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Yo, Beane was right there with him. May not have been as much in the community, but he was right there with him. So he knows and he feels for the city. So you kind of want that still left in Buffalo. That's the way I look at it. Open mic. I know you want to try to send a chat, but I didn't see that. We got one from our guy, Walter. What up, Walt? Walt says, yo, great show, gentlemen. And much respect to you, Z-Bot, for hanging in there, talking about this all day. We don't have to agree. For me to appreciate what you do, keep it up. Aw, look at Walt. Walt is coming in saying, I know it was hard on your ass, but it's all love. And
Appreciate you, Walt.
Walt's doing one of these for my boy Z-Bot.
Thank you, Walt.
We love you, Walt. I love when
ya.
Walt tries to come for me because I'll come for his ass right back. You know what I'm saying? So we clap back and we have a good time. We love you, Walt. All right, we got another. We got Feed and Phoenix says, yo, Beane is what is that, a pretzel? What is that?
That's a snake.
Oh, is it? Is that a pretzel? Yo, Beane's a snake. I really like Dable, Davis Webb, and Josh. Josh Allen are reportedly best friends. I think that would make a weird dynamic. Davis, I mean, listen, I don't know, but I do remember when they went to camp together. Do you remember hearing that story when they went to camp and it was Davis Webb setting up all the drills and organizing everything? Davis Webb was the guy doing it, and it wasn't even Josh. Everyone's like, yo, Josh is getting everybody going. No. That was Davis Webb. So big shout out to Davis Webb. All right. That was the last super chat of the night. We appreciate you guys very much. It's been a long night, a long day. So listen, man, We appreciate y'all. Bot, any last words before you get out of here?
No, that'll do it. Thanks so much, as always, for everybody tuning in. Nearly 4,000 of you in here. I think I had 10,000 of you in here with me yesterday on the announcement of McDermott firing.
Jeez,
which was
did you have 10K?
Yeah, that was just insane.
That is crazy.
Listen, this is insane times in Buffalo, so I understand why everybody wants to hang, and I want to hang with you. So we'll continue to hang throughout this process. We got a coach to hire. We got personnel to address, and we got another season to attack coming up.
No doubt.
In a few months here. So we will be with you alongside for the entire
Hold on now.
ride.
We got one more chat. What are your thoughts on trying to make a splash trading for an established head coach or bringing in a good retire? I don't know what I heard. What do you call Shanahan might be available for trade because him and John Lynch are not seeing eye to eye.
There is just no way I see it. That is one of the best coaches in the sport. There's no way San Francisco's letting him go. I'd love it though.
Yo, listen, admiral job today to you, buddy. Admiral job. Admiral job.
Hey, and an admiral job to you as well, Rico. An admiral job to everybody who tuned in. We appreciate each and every one of you. That's 3 hours in the books. Oh my God. I mean,
I said only an hour, didn't I?
Yeah, well, I read that and I said, let me keep scrolling. Let me keep scrolling. Oh my God. All right. Hey, before Caroline and my daughter just put me in my grave, which they deserve to do, I got to sign off. Rico has to sign off as well. We will sign back on at some point later in the week to continue to update you on the craziness going on in Buffalo. But for the meantime, that's Rico. I'm Bot. On the way out the door, as you smash that like, go ahead and smash that link in the description below for Sleeper. Link is in the description below. Click that and sign up for Sleeper. Once you do, you will immediately get a free $20 entry. You can use that on the AFC and NFC championship games, NBA, NHL, you name it. It is all on Sleeper. Once you use your free $20 entry, use the promo code on your screen, BF25, and that will get you a 100% match up to $100 on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper terms of use for details. Currently available in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper via the link in the description below. By the way, I just saw Jeff King. Jeff King, I saw your text, and I've been meaning to text him back. Jeff King sent me a nice text. Believe it or not, you wouldn't know it. I actually just started feeling better, which is amazing. I have been bedridden for the last 48 hours. So this has been the last 5 days for me.
You would never know.
Bills lose. Patriots go to the AFC Championship. Sean McDermott gets fired. I come down with a stomach bug that I thought was going to put me in my grave. Then this press conference happens. So, Jeff, I'll get back to you. We'll all get back to you in some capacity right here on the Buffalo Fanatics YouTube channel sometime later in the week. But for now, we're out. Much love. Rico Bot. Talk to you soon. Go Bills.